Welcome to Dem Boyz, a podcast that is turning things around this year. We're one Saints fan and one Cowboys fan, one fan of Who Dat and one fan of Dat Win. We're here to give weekly takes, game recaps, bad betting picks, game previews, and some Seinfeld references.
This week's episode is brought to you by Julius Jones, second round pick, 43rd overall in 2004. It was a pick acquired by the Cowboys in a trade with Buffalo, where Dallas gave up their first round pick to Buffalo, and Buffalo used that pick to select quarterback J.P. Lossman from Tulane. In return, the Cowboys received a second round pick that they used to select Jones, a fifth round pick they used to select tight end Sean Ryan, who may come up again later in this episode, and a 2005 first round pick used to select a guy named Marcus Spears that you
LSU
may know
legend.
from LSU legend. You may know him from ESPN now. Julius Jones remained with the Cowboys until 2007, at which point he signed with the Seahawks and remained there from 2008 to 2010. He was released October 5th of 2010, and then he was signed by the Saints on October 10th, 2010, where he played out the remainder of the season, which included a playoff loss to the Seahawks. That was the Beastquake game. Then he retired, finishing his career with over 5,000 rushing yards.
Yeah, so I have a story about this actual draft here because this was the draft where Steven Jackson was coming out of Oregon State, who me and my dad both wanted the Cowboys to draft at this position, kept sliding. And so this draft happened on the day of my cousin's wedding in 2004. And so me and my dad keep going back and forth from, wherever the reception's being held to wherever they've got a TV to check and see what's happening with the draft. It comes to the Cowboys pick, they're on the clock. Steven Jackson's still available. We're like, all right, we're going to get him. So we kind of walk away, come back, and the pick has been traded.
Yeah.
And so it did not happen. Julius Jones had a few good moments. I think specifically a game against the Seahawks, which is probably why they eventually signed him as a free agent. But he was not quite the level of Steven Jackson.
No, I was gonna say Steven Jackson had over 11,000 rushing yards in his career.
It was a close one. He got a head start. He got a head start.
All right. I'm Paul, the Saints fan.
I'm Brandon, the Cowboys fan.
And we're your hosts. Izzy, tell them what time it is.
Yeah, that's it. It's go time. Let's see you live that.
Mr. Mandelbaum, please.
It's go time.
This one's for you, Pop. It's go time.
It's go time.
You've been married 3 times.
That's it. It's go time. It's go time.
All right. A few housekeeping items here before we get into the crux of the episode. I will point out that on my television set right now is Seinfeld. It is the Sponge episode currently.
Sponge-worthy.
Yeah, so hopefully, hey, if you find us sponge-worthy and you want to tell us, you can contact the show via email, blessdemboys@gmail.com, BLESSDMBOYZ@gmail.com. We're still on Twitter. Hey, I shot our shot with LeBron. I don't know if you saw that.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so we're still waiting to hear back, but we're at bless_dem_boys, capital B, capital D, capital B. My personal account is at Paul Elliott _316. That's PAULELLIOTT _316. Brandon is at Ball from Grace, BALLFROMGRACE.
We are going to do something about the sideburns.
Right. And we did clean the tub, right? We did.
Yes, we did.
We did. You had what was the tweet I saw that you tweeted out your 5 albums of the year, I believe, today.
It was more than 5. I started with the top 3, and then I kind of just went with albums that I liked this year.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
So I listed the albums, artists, and then gave my favorite song from the album for this year. So if you're into music, check it out.
Excellent. And we retweeted that from the
from the official show account.
From the show account. So yeah, check that out. You can also check us out to stream. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a rating and review. We appreciate all the feedback. I haven't really checked. Have we gotten any ratings? We gotten a few ratings, I guess, on
Yeah, I
Spotify
haven't
and
checked.
Apple.
I haven't had a chance to check lately, though. I need to do that more frequently.
Yeah, we'll add that to the resolutions for the year.
Yes,
for 2025.
Check reviews.
Yeah. Before we go any further, we are recording this on New Year's Day 2025. We do want to send our best wishes to all those that were impacted by the terrorist attack this morning in New Orleans. Obviously, New Orleans holds a special place in my heart. I'm not from there. I'm from Lafayette, but obviously
Louisiana brethren.
Louisiana brethren. Hope everybody's okay down there. Hope everybody's staying safe. Yeah, absolutely, and everywhere else too, for that matter.
Yep.
Also, want to pass along some condolences. We had a couple of high-profile deaths, I would say, over the last week or so. Ricky Henderson, Major League Baseball legend. Is he still he's still the Steals all-time Steals leader. He's got to be, yeah. So rest in peace to Ricky. Also, Greg Gumbel, who, if you watch any coverage of March Madness on CBS over the last decade, 2 decades, you definitely know who Greg Gumbel is. And his brother Brian Gumbel was on the. That's a Seinfeld connection actually. Brian Gumbel was in a Seinfeld episode.
Oh, that's right.
He was in the puffy shirt.
Oh yeah,
he's interviewing Jerry.
You look like you're going to swing in on a chandelier.
So condolences to the Gumbel family. And actually, I should point out that both Greg and Bryant were born in New Orleans. Oh. They were raised in. I read this over when his death was announced. I looked up some information on it. They were born in New Orleans, but I think they grew up in the Chicago area. And also, last but not least, former president, 39th president, I believe, Jimmy Carter, passed away. That was on Monday, I believe, the 30th, or actually might have been Sunday, at age 100. So definitely I hate to say this, but one of my favorite tweets I saw was Jimmy Carter lived 100 years. He saw all these things, but he never saw the Falcons win a Super Bowl.
Of course, you would appreciate that.
Well, I mean, so
he was also alive for.
Go ahead.
He was also alive for both premieres of both Nosferatu movies.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, how about that?
There's a feather in his cap.
There's a feather in his cap. Rest in peace, President Carter, and condolences to all the families. And I did wanted to add one more note. We will get into some more chipper, I guess, topics here. But I saw someone, I think it was Adam Schefter, retweeted this, and then we also retweeted. I forget who originally posted this, but we retweeted it from the show account as well. If you were so lucky to win your fantasy football league or do really well in your fantasy football league, I would strongly encourage check out the tweet that we retweeted. That has a list of the NFL players and their charities. So, like, for example, I did not win my fantasy league, but Josh Allen was on my team, and so I felt like I should maybe donate to his charity. So I looked up the charity that he supports and just shot a few dollars their way. Don't want to guilt trip anybody into doing it, but just thought it might be something nice to do. So just food for thought there.
Everybody on my fantasy team is on my airing of grievances list right now. Unfortunately,
that's also an option.
I did not let him hear about it though. I'm not gonna tweet him.
Yeah. So if you don't have to donate, but also maybe don't
don't mention them.
Yeah, don't go the other way.
Yeah.
All right, so been a while since we recorded, Brandon. You want to talk about what you've been been up to over the
Yeah,
last week or so?
so we went to visit my parents for Christmas. We were there for about a week, and so we did a lot of heavy lifting on just spending time with the family and kind of just hanging out, seeing the cousins, everybody's kids now, um, and then so we watched a bunch of Christmas movies. We kind of Christmas Eve we just kind of like loaded up with we did the Santa Claus, we did Jingle All the Way, we did the Charlie Brown Christmas, we did two different versions of the Grinch. Um,
Okay.
we all, and then Christmas Eve we also did "It's a Wonderful Life," and then at some point, I think the day after Christmas, we watched the best Christmas pageant ever,
Okay.
which is really good. Um,
That not familiar with that one.
it's a new movie. It has
Okay.
I think of her as Kitty from Arrested Development.
Okay.
I can't think of her actual name. So, but it's kind of it's a family movie about like this church is putting on their annual Christmas pageant, and the kids that are like the troublemaking kids demand to be included, and so they want to be the
Uh-huh.
starring roles this year, and how that like kind of messes with the community and how that goes. It was a really good movie. We really enjoyed it. Um, Last night, we our kid actually requested she requested to she's 9. She requested to stay up to see the countdown. So I had to stay
Okay.
up till midnight last night, which was which was- which means today I feel great. Got plenty of energy, Paul.
Absolutely, yeah. I could tell.
Yeah, and
I could
then
tell.
yesterday I marked one off my one of the things I wanted to do before I was 40. The wife and I we've had tickets for a while, but we went and saw Shen Yun.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this other than the
Uh,
billboards?
no, I did see your Instagram post of you and your lovely wife at the show, but no, I don't. I'm not familiar.
So it's kind of a interpretive dance sort of thing, but
Okay.
they call it. I think the label of the show is China Before Communism,
Gotcha.
and they talk about they bring in their story of the how the divine creator brought all the gods to live on earth and established China, and then they go through the history, and they've got some folk tales. There is a story with a pig man.
Oh, okay.
He is actually a
All
pig
right.
man. He's not at a hospital, but he does kidnap someone in a village.
So he's
Um,
not a sad little mental patient.
no, he's not a sad little
Okay.
mental patient.
Okay.
He is an actual
All right.
pig man. Um, and then he's the woman is saved from the pig man by the monkey king. So there's a lot of interpretive dancing, and then there's also a lot of anti-communist uh, propaganda
Okay.
in there. There,
Okay.
so there's all the bad guys are wearing like black jackets with a hammer and sickle on the back. I think I saw Ned
So
Ryerson on there. um,
Ned?
yeah, yeah. There's also a great article about the New Yorker, which is why I wanted to see this in the first place. That talks about kind of like the disturbing kind of stuff. There was some
Yeah.
stuff in the
Yeah.
article that I was looking forward to. That I guess they redo the show every year. They had taken out the giant red wave with the face of Karl Marx on it out.
Okay.
Um, but it was still enjoyable for an entertainment perspective, even if it wasn't necessarily because I enjoy interpretive dancing. So
All right. Well,
that's what I got up to. Paul,
that
how about
that
yourself?
sounds nothing quite as exciting, I would say, but real quick on the Christmas movies going back. So you said you saw two versions of the Grinch. Which two versions did you see?
So we did the original animated version, like the 30
Okay.
minute,
Yep. Yep.
um, and then we did the new animated version with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Okay. So that one, the Cumberbatch one, is the one that my youngest fell in love with. I think
Yeah, our
we
kids
tried.
actually like that one. I like the Jim Carrey one personally.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen the Jim Carrey one. He actually was talking about that over a couple weeks ago. I think he said if he had a chance to redo it, he would want to redo it because he felt like I don't know, felt like he
Mm.
It's a Wonderful Life. I mentioned that a couple weeks ago.
He did.
I did my annual viewing of that one. So we'll revisit again next year. For me, I did watch. Speaking of Seinfeld, I did watch the Strike episode, otherwise
Mhm.
known as the Festivus episode on Festivus. Just knocked it out.
Yamahama.
Yamahama. It is Fright Night. Just I mean, it's in my top 10. We'll have to one day, maybe when football season's over, we'll have to go through my list, my rankings of Seinfeld episodes. But that one is definitely in my top 10.
You are on our
Also,
list.
yeah, exactly. Of course, we don't know how official any of these rankings are anyway. But
Correct.
I checked out a show, Shrinking. Are you familiar with the show Shrinking on Apple TV?
Heard the name. Do
Okay.
not.
So
Can't
you and
conjure
I
up anything.
okay, so you and I share. I think I'm correct when I say this. Correct if I'm wrong. You and I share a shared enjoyment of the show Ted Lasso.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Correct.
this is by the same creators, Bill
Okay.
Lawrence, also oh, why can I not? Brett Goldstein, who is Roy Kent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they created this show, Shrinking. It stars Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother,
Mm-hmm.
and Mr. Harrison Ford
Oh,
from a bunch of stuff. But
he's been
Jason
in a few
Segel,
things.
he's been in a few. Yeah, he's done okay for himself.
Hmm.
Jason Segel plays a psychiatrist who, when the show begins, you find out that he lost his wife in a tragic accident,
Mm-hmm.
and he's basically trying to deal with that while also being a psychiatrist. Harrison Ford plays his kind of mentor, runs the psychiatry practice that he works at. He has a daughter, high school age daughter. Jason Segel does. So he has to he's trying to figure that out. Um, so there's all kind of, and then his neighbors, there actually is a Seinfeld connection. His neighbors are played by the husband is played by Ted McGinley. If you ever watched Married with Children,
Mm-hmm.
Ted McGinley was the neighbor in that show. I forget what his
Okay.
name. His name may even been Ted in the show, but that's what I recognize him from. And then the wife is Krista Miller. Now, Krista Miller was in 2 episodes of Seinfeld, and she played 2 different characters. In the Sniffing Accountant, she played Miss de Grandmont, who is the woman that George is interviewing to be a bra salesman, and he walks out in
Oh
the
yeah,
lobby and he feels her
the
material.
material. Uh
Yeah,
huh.
and she yells at him.
Uh huh.
So, and then in season 6, she is in the episode The Doodle.
Uh
She
huh.
plays George's girlfriend who draws
Thinks he's cute, right?
right, like, but um how does George like ask Elaine to like ask her if she likes him.
Uh huh.
Yeah, and then George sees a doodle she made and he thinks it's him. Like
Mm-hmm.
he gets so, and then and then this is when he wears the velvet suit.
Drape
If you
myself
remember.
in. Yeah,
Yep.
drape myself in velvet.
Yep. She also, for those who are not Seinfeld initiated, she also was in the Drew Carey Show. She was in
Mm-hmm.
Scrubs. I think she was in Scrubs. Yeah, she's. Uh, but uh, but what I'll say about Shrinking, a couple things. It's a wonderful show. If you like Ted Lasso, I would highly recommend watching Shrinking. I would highly recommend watching Shrinking anyway. I think
Uh
it's a
huh.
little bit. I think it might be a little easily accessible than
Uh
Ted
huh.
Lasso, because like Ted Lasso has the whole soccer element kind of to it. This is
Uh
just
huh.
more of like, I don't know. Uh,
People.
yeah, it's just there's none of that there. Although Jason Siegel's daughter, who's in high school, plays soccer, but that's not like a big part
Not
of
a
the
talking point.
not a big thing. But yeah, anyway. Um, and in season 2 of Shrinking, there's 2 seasons. They actually just wrapped up season 2. That's kind of what got me to watch it. People were raving about the end of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
In the second season, Roy Kent himself, Brett Goldstein, has a role, and it's definitely different from Roy Kent. It's not
Because
like
he had to shape for that, right?
yes, yeah,
Yeah, I saw my wife sent me an Instagram clip of him doing an interview about that because he talked about how weird it felt to not have a beard. He's like, I
yeah.
basically came out of the womb with a beard.
he also he also has a good. I saw part of a clip where he talked about having to go to Harrison Ford's house to like
Uh-huh.
pitch him the show, and how nervous he was and all that stuff. So, but no, it hits a lot of the same notes that Ted Lasso does,
Uh-huh.
uh, and it's just a wonderful. I just thoroughly enjoyed the show. It's definitely tough in some parts. I will say that
Kind of
there's
like Ted
some
Lasso.
kind of like Ted Lasso, but yeah, highly recommend. Also watched season 3 of What If. This is the Marvel animated show. They released an episode basically every day starting December 22nd for like a week.
Uh-huh.
And this is the last season of What If, and it's good. I mean, I like the show. It definitely. Someone pointed out you could definitely tell that like because Marvel's had a lot of projects get delayed for various reasons and
Uh-huh.
shuffled around, and you can kind of tell that this show was impacted by that because I think a lot of things that they introduced in this show they were hoping that the live action counterpart may have been done by now, and it's not
Uh-huh.
necessarily the
Ended
case.
up not
So
doing.
yeah, so um, but yeah, I still would recommend watching it. It's if you're if you're a Marvel fan. And then I want to talk about 3 movies I saw.
Okay.
Carry On. This is a Netflix movie starring Jason Bateman and Taron Egerton. Taron Egerton plays a TSA agent basically,
Uh-huh.
and Jason Bateman plays this. Well, I guess this might be a little sensitive considering what happened today, but he plays basically like a terrorist who's
Uh-huh.
like trying to get this. He is trying to blackmail Taron Egerton and helping him get a chemical device onto an airplane.
Okay.
Uh,
Is it
it's a very go ahead.
is it so what's the genre of movie? Because Jason Bateman, there's a
Yeah,
wide
no,
range of
it's no. This is he's evil Jason Bateman. This is kind of
Okay.
like it's kind of like Die Hard meets it's kind of like a Die Hard movie. It's almost like Die Hard. I would say Die Hard in an airport, but that's Die Hard 2.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, it's kind of that like, and the other thing I liked about the movie is it also showed you how the bad guys kind of operate. So normally,
Mhm.
like in a movie like this, you would just kind of see from the protagonist perspective, right? You would see like the bad guy gets introduced to them and like they're manipulated, but you also kind of see how the bad guys are operating in the background too,
Mhm.
which is interesting, I think. But yeah, I would definitely recommend. It's on Netflix. I think it's a Netflix. I'm pretty sure it's a Netflix original, so it should be on there for a while. Also saw Juror Number Two. This is Clint Eastwood's movie that came out. That I don't think it ever came out in theaters. There was like a big thing about they didn't want to release it, and eventually it's on Max. I saw it on Max
Okay.
yesterday or the day before.
Do I need to
Stars
see
Nicola.
does he need to see
No,
juror number
no,
1 to
no. You don't need to see Juror Number One. Stars Nicholas Holt. Do you know who Nicholas Holt is?
I'm
Uh,
looking at him right now. The face looks familiar, but I don't
he's in
place him.
Nosferatu. Actually, we were talking about
Oh, okay.
Nosferatu.
Yeah,
He's
which I'm
in
planning to see, hoping to see this weekend.
so, but he plays I think he's a magazine writer. I forget what his profession is, but basically he gets called to jury duty, and in the press, and he gets selected for jury duty for a case that once the case starts, like once the the prosecution starts going through the evidence of the case, he realizes that he may have actually been involved in what happened.
Uh-huh.
If that makes sense, like he may have.
He may be implicated.
Yeah, exactly. He may be implicated in this case that he's now a sitting juror for. So, very good movie. Also stars let's see, J.K. Simmons is in it. Toni Collette is in it. We talked about Hereditary a couple weeks ago.
Hereditary. Yep.
Yeah, she's very good in it. Yeah, some really really good performances in that one. I would recommend that one. And then finally today I watched The Beekeeper. Are you familiar with this movie?
I'm not. I saw somebody post about it on Twitter. Oh, it's just Jason Statham. Okay,
This is
so
the
it's an
Jason
action.
Statham. Yeah, this is this is a classic like just 2 or not even 2 hour. It's pretty straightforward movie.
I
And
think
it's yeah.
Jason Statham. Everything he's in is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, this is a classic like Jason Statham type of movie, I would say. But definitely again, I would recommend it. I would say you know, just if you're looking for uh
Action.
a way to kill 2 hours or not even an hour, not even 2 hours. I would highly recommend this one to check out. And this
It
one's
is
on
1 hour 45 minutes.
yeah,
So
this
under
one's
2 hours.
on this was on what did I watched it on Prime. It's on Prime Video. So check it out.
I should
All
ask
right.
before we move on. Did you have any more issues with DoorDash during our absence? It's been a running theme of the show.
Yeah, well, no, but my sister for Christmas gifted my wife and I a $50 DoorDash gift card. So
Oh,
we did use it, and no more issues. We haven't.
yeah, yeah.
Knock on wood,
Yep.
But I'll keep you posted for
All
sure.
right.
Let's talk about some college football. And in our intro, you always talk about bad betting picks. Well, mine are pretty bad when it comes to the bowl season. When it comes to the bowl season, so what college bowl games did you
So
watch?
since we were with my parents, I didn't really get to watch much. I watched a little bit of the Miami game. I saw the. I checked in on the Colorado BYU game because I was kind of excited about that one, and then Colorado was
Oh, yeah,
already down big, and so
yeah.
that went the wrong way. So I did today though. I did manage to. I caught up on sleep today during the first half of Texas Arizona State, and
Okay.
when I woke up, it was 17-3, and so I was feeling pretty good. And then I came out into the living room to watch some of it, and then was not feeling quite so good after
You
that.
you were like Scatabo there. Scata you
Yeah,
were he was
I
not
was.
feeling too good at certain points in the game.
He looked like he took a beating today.
He did. Yeah.
Um,
But
he did
look,
have
but
a.
listen. Uh Saints don't don't hesitate to draft him
Well,
like
he did throw a
we
touchdown pass like Taysom
he did.
Hill.
He did.
So, um, yeah. So I was just happy. So that game went from, because it was 4th and 13. Texas needs a touchdown. So Texas in the first overtime, 4th and 13 touchdown pass.
Yep.
Second overtime, first play touchdown pass, and
Yep.
then like pretty much interception. Like that game went from Texas is in bad trouble right now to Texas won the game in like no time. So just happy to get
Yeah.
out with the win. Both you and I did have
Yeah.
Arizona State plus the points, so we did get
Yeah,
the
so
cover there too.
they did cover. I was impressed with Ewers. I thought he did. I mean, he had a couple.
Not on the downfield passing. I hope.
No, but like the way he kind of responded, because yeah, that one interception he threw that really got Arizona State back in the game. Well, I mean because they score, right? Scatabo
Uh-huh.
throws that touchdown, and then the next drive, that's when Ewers throws the deep pass, and the
Yeah,
safety
because
just makes
then it was a
a
one possession game, and then
right, right,
they got it back, and then Scatabo has that, which I don't understand because he waits up, he's running a pattern, he's past the defensive back, he stops and runs into the defensive back, and then veers
right.
away from him, and they called it defensive pass interference for
Yeah,
I didn't understand that call.
right. But yeah,
Um,
by far the best game of the college football playoff, because the other ones have been pretty
Texas also
like
had the best game of the first round too.
it's true. They did against Clemson. Yeah, that was good. So let me ask you this, because I don't know if we probably haven't talked about this on the show, but I think you texted me. You were impressed with Clemson's quarterback in that game.
Yeah, he had some passes
Yeah,
like that. Texas's pass defense is really good, like one of the best in the nation. And he had some
yep.
passes where he was just like the defense was there, and he just put it right on the money. So I was actually like came away really impressed with him.
Okay. For me, I just wanted to bring this up. So on, I think it was Monday, maybe it was Sunday. I can't remember. One of the days where it might have been Saturday when they had a bunch of games go on. They had two games at the same time. One was in Fenway Park, the other was in Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
How do we feel about these bowl games in baseball stadiums? Like the one in Fenway looked really weird because basically the field was on the infield. So like if you looked on the other side, like there were like you could see the from where the camera was, you could see the green monster like in that.
It's like watching an old Raiders game.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the Yankee Stadium one. I found that one. I didn't watch as much of that one, but I found that one wasn't as. And I don't know if it's bad or good. I just kind of want to get. And then I know Northwestern University plays a game in Wrigley Field. I want to say every year or maybe every other year. Uh, so I don't know, just something that
Yeah,
caught
it's
my eye.
I did see some views from the seats where they were I think obstructed by the foul poles, so that's not going to be good for business.
Not going to be good for anybody. Probably the best game I would say. The Pop Tart Bowl was really good.
The
You and
That also had the
you
best. I will say no. I did watch the Pop Tart Bowl. That's because that
okay?
was the Miami one, right?
Right, that's the Cam
Because that was
Ward. Yeah,
and that was the
yeah.
one. And everything around that game done by Pop Tart was amazing.
Oh yeah,
Like
top notch. Yeah,
perfectly done. Every other bowl game sponsor should try to be what Pop Tart is to their bowl game.
absolutely. Yeah, because we were texting about the Cam Ward thing. Him deciding, and I guess it was decided beforehand he was going to do this. He took himself out after halftime. I didn't realize that he played the first half. He broke some kind of record. I don't remember what the record was, and then it was decided before the game, like, okay, you're going to play, you'll break this record, and then we'll take you out. It would
Yeah,
have been
one
nice if Miami had said that, I
right,
guess, like because otherwise now it just looks like he just quit on his team. Like it
right.
just
Well, yeah. If everyone
um,
knows that, then it's fine. But if not, then it's
right,
um.
right,
The,
like we'll talk about the Saquon thing with the Eagles, like
do we have
like
to
it's kind. Well, okay, I'll talk about it. You'll just stew and
hang my head and cry?
hang your head and cry. But yeah, it was it's a weird weird circumstances there. So speaking of my bad bull picks here, against the spread, I am 17-22. I believe you're 29-10
Yep.
against the
I'm.
spread.
I just checked my official standings on the ESPN game, and I am 25th.
There's a feather in your cap.
That is a feather in my cap. Let's just see. Let's just see if I can keep it up, though.
Maybe you can. Who knows? Maybe you can get into the top 20. Maybe.
I think
We'll see.
I'm 4 points behind, but if I can finish in, within in double digits, I will be I'll
You're
be
you're
pretty happy.
you're 4 points behind first place.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So 4 games
That's
back.
pretty. All right. So, what I wanted to do here, real quick, we won't go through the college football playoff games, but I just want to go through the other non-college football playoff game. Mostly, this is so I don't have to text you tomorrow morning and the next morning to say, "Hey, what are your picks today?" So we have them written down. So tomorrow, so again with the terrorist attack in New Orleans today, the Sugar Bowl has been moved to tomorrow. They're going to kick that game off at 3 o'clock. This game, the Gator Bowl, actually got pushed back now. It's going to kick off after the Sugar Bowl. I want to say it's going to be like 7 or 8 o'clock. Duke and Ole Miss. Ole Miss is laying 12.5. I'm taking the points with Duke. You're laying the 12.5 with Ole Miss. I just don't trust SEC teams in these bowl games. Like
Not
the
anymore.
Alabama. Well, the Alabama thing, I kind of was like, I kind of saw that coming because, like, I don't know, they've done that before where Alabama's not gotten in the playoff. They go to their bowl game and they kind of lay an egg almost. And Michigan, look, Michigan was playing hard, and then also the weather didn't really help them either. But talk about Jalen Milroe. His draft stock took a nosedive in that game. My
Yeah,
goodness,
not great.
not great for him. And then January 3rd, so Friday, we have 3 games. They had the First Responders Bowl, North Texas and Texas State. We're both laying 7.5 with Texas State. Shout out to former Southland Conference school, Texas State. And then we have the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Now, Duke's Mayo, they're usually pretty good. Like we talked about the Pop Tart Bowl and like how good they're. Duke's Mayo is usually on that level, so we'll see what they do. Minnesota, Virginia Tech. We are both laying 2.5 with the Golden Gophers, Minnesota, and then the Bahamas Bowl, Buffalo and Liberty. So that is Khalil Mack versus Malik Willis. I think
That is
Khalil Mack went.
correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, Khalil Mack did go to Buffalo. I
yeah.
will go ahead. I'm gonna switch to Virginia Tech plus 2.5 here.
Okay.
Go out
For
on a
the
limb
Mayo Bowl.
for the Mayo Bowl.
For the Mayo Bowl. All right. And then so in the Bahamas Bowl, we're both laying the 2.5 with Liberty
Correct.
University. And then that
Correct.
and then that's the final non-playoff game. When we reconvene next week, we will probably talk a little bit about the semifinal games because they won't. This first semifinal game is not till the 9th of January. So, all right. And actually, I'm sorry, that Bahamas Bowl is not Friday. It's actually Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's 2 games on Friday and then the 1 game on Saturday. All right. Ready to move on to some NFL? We got a lot of NFL to talk about.
Yep. 2 weeks.
2 weeks worth here. So we'll quickly kind of go through our picks as they stand after week 16 and 17. So week 16, man, I was looking pretty good there. I was 11-5 against the spread, 13-3 straight up. Week 17 kind of came back down to earth, 9-7 against the spread, 8-8 straight up. So against the spread for the season, I am 127 and 129. I'm a good 2 games ahead of my colleague here.
Yep.
And then straight up, I am 150 and 106. So looking pretty. So I'm guaranteed to finish. What's that? 28 games over 500. I could lose all the games in week 18 and still.
Yeah, you'll still be ahead of
the pace, right?
Yep.
Unfortunately, week 16 and 17, both of my upset picks did not hit. I had Steelers over Ravens week 16. That was no good. And Titans over Jags. I'm going to learn not to bet on the Titans one of these days, I guess. But my locks, both of my locks did hit. Week 16, I had Vikings over Seahawks. I think I had to sweat that one out. Yeah, I had to sweat that one out a little bit. I did not have to sweat out Chargers over Patriots week 17. That was
not
that was
close.
that was not close. That was not close from the jump. For my predictions that I did before the season, right now I sit at 3 teams with correct records: Cardinals, Panthers, and Ravens. The most I can possibly get right for the season is 9. When we go through the preview for Week 18, I will point out what I need to happen in certain games in order to get those right on the money. And then pigskin win totals. Are we both 16 and 13 so far?
I haven't checked, so I'm gonna trust your number right here.
I'll check it real quick if you want to go through your picks real quick.
Okay. Yeah, so week 16 and 17, I was 7 and 9 and 8 and 8. So nice and head around even Steven
Meaty
there.
part of the curve.
Meaty part of the curve, not showing off. So brings me to the season 125 and 131. 0-2 on upset picks. So week 16, I had the Broncos over the Chargers. And week 17, I had Packers over Vikings. Neither of those hit. 14 and 1 so far this season on my locks, though. So
yeah,
doing okay there. Bengals over Browns.
Hang on, wait. I think my math is off on my locks and my upsets. So because you have 15 and I have 14, so I got to figure it out. I won't worry about it right now, but yeah. Anyway,
somewhere in there.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So I took the Bengals over Browns in week 16 and the Bills over the Jets in week 17. So big shout out to the Jets for finally laying down when I needed you to lay down.
Exactly. And yeah, I just double checked our pigskin win totals. We are both 16 and 13 so far.
We got 3 outstanding.
We got 3 outstanding. Do we have the same 3?
That's a good question.
So my 3 outstanding are Baltimore, Carolina, and the Texans.
Well, they would be the same outstanding. Oh, so they'll be the same teams, but let's see. So I've got Baltimore under. Right. I've got Baltimore under.
I'm over. Okay, so
Texans, I have over 9.5.
I have over on the Texans.
And the last one was who?
The Panthers.
I'm pretty sure I had the over on them.
Over 4.5.
I think so. Panthers. Where are you? Over 4.5.
Okay, so it'll come down to the Ravens.
So you have over on them too.
Yeah, I have over on I have over on the Panthers. I have over on the Texans, and I have over on the Ravens. But you have under on the Ravens, right?
Correct. So I'll be cheering for the Browns this week.
You and the Steelers.
Congratulations, Paul.
You and the Steelers will both be cheering for the Browns this week.
They're only 17 and a half point dogs.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Okay, so with that, let's jump into. So we're gonna do our recap of week 16 and 17. Do this a little differently. We'll try to be as quick as we can about it. Instead of going through each game, I guess technically we will go through each game, but we're going to do it by team. So I tried to sort this in playoff seeding order. We'll see how good of a job I did. We'll start with the AFC, the number 1 seed, the AFC West champs for the 9th year in a row, the Kansas City Chiefs. They have 2 wins in a row. They beat the Texans 27-19. That was presented by Tyrann Mathieu. And they beat the Steelers on Christmas 29-10. That was presented by Rocky Boyman. I feel like this team is getting their offense. They're getting right at the right time, which is scary for the rest of the league. And now they're going to have 2 weeks off. So,
yep.
Because nobody, I think they're resting the starters this week against the Broncos.
Carson Wentz is ready to show what he's got left in the tank.
Yeah. So if you're a Bengals fan, you're rooting for, or if you're a Dolphins fan too, you're rooting for Carson Wentz this week. Good luck with that.
Neither of these games was particularly close either. They were both.
No. Yeah, their offense just feels like Now I want to say Pacheco maybe got banged up in one of these games, so he might. But Kareem Hunt's been
He's been
pretty good for
fine.
them. He's yeah. So I mean, and they got Hollywood Brown back now. So yeah, so they. I remember a couple weeks ago we were all like, man, the Chiefs might be one and done in the playoffs, and now it just feels like they feel like Thanos almost, like they're just inevitable, like they're just gonna.
We'll pray. We'll pray something breaks differently this year, though, just for
We'll see,
variety.
we'll see, we'll see. One of the teams that could do that is the Buffalo Bills. They have clinched the AFC East, and they have also clinched the 2 seed. Back-to-back wins here. They beat the Patriots 24-21. They had to sweat that one out.
Yep.
That was presented by Doug Flutie, and then they put the beat down on the Jets 40-14. That was presented by Saints legend Chris Ivory. Yeah, Buffalo. Yeah, they look good. I
The
don't.
Bills. The Bills are a team with a high ceiling, but they're sort of Jekyll and Hyde sometimes because they'll have
Yeah,
moments where they kind of just revert back into that loss they had where Josh Allen was like 9 of 30 against the Texans this year. Like they'll have
yeah,
moments where they can just
yeah.
lose the plot basically. So
Which is why the Bills of all people should probably be rooting for the Broncos this week, because I feel like if the Bengals somehow get that 7th seed and they're coming to Buffalo next weekend,
mm-hmm.
could could be trouble.
Yep.
Could be trouble. So we'll see what happens there. Moving on here, the Ravens, they have clinched a playoff spot. They have not yet clinched the division. They can do that this weekend. But they have their last 2 weeks, 2 wins for them. They beat the Steelers 34-17. That was brought to you by Patrick Queen. And then they won on Christmas Day at Houston at the Texans, 31-2. That was presented by Jacoby Jones. The best part of that game, I think, was the Beyonce halftime show. But
yeah, that game was also I think we went over to one of my relatives' house and like we were like, oh, let's check the score. And by that time I was like, all right, the game's over. Let's play some dominoes.
I will say I did watch both games that were on Netflix. Had a good viewing experience. Didn't have any issues.
No lag, no freezing.
Yeah, I saw a lot of compliments about the Netflix experience online. So good for Netflix. I'm sure they'll get a playoff game now at some point, but
Of course.
we'll see that. So the Ravens, yeah, they're looking strong. I think they're going to be their defense still kind of worries me a little bit, depending on who they play that first. Although if you look at the teams that they could play, assuming they clinch the AFC North, they're either going to play the Steelers or the Chargers, and neither one of those teams offensively. I guess the Chargers maybe a little bit more than the Steelers, but
Maybe the Steelers if they have Pickens, because Pickens hasn't.
yeah,
He's still been out, hasn't he?
yeah, he came back. I thought for one of these games. We'll talk
For
about that in a second, but
the Chiefs one.
yeah, that offense has definitely regressed. I guess moving on. Actually, no. Let's just talk about the Steelers. We'll come back to the Texans here in a second. The Steelers, they have clinched a playoff spot. They are not in the driver's seat in terms of the division, and they actually could fall out of the 5 seed also too. They have back-to-back losses at Baltimore, 34-17, and against the Chiefs, 29-10. Yeah, their offense just looks. I mean, Russ, he's kind of reverted back to Denver Russ, and you brought up the Pickens thing. Like this team doesn't. They do not inspire confidence.
So
going into the
they went from let Russ cook to Russ looks cooked.
Right, exactly. I don't think they're at the point where they're going to go back to Fields, and I don't think that would make sense.
No.
But yeah, they definitely feel like a one and done type scenario unless they can maintain the 5th seed and go to Houston. Steelers Texans has the first week of the playoffs.
That's the first Saturday, first game on Saturday.
That would be rough. Speaking of the Texans, they have clinched the AFC South and they have clinched the 4th seed. They cannot get any better than the 4th seed, so they will host presumably the first game of Wild Card Weekend.
Congratulations on a job done.
Done. Yeah, they coming off back-to-back losses at the Chiefs, 27-19, and home against the Ravens that we just talked about. Yeah, man, they we've said it all season. Texans are just glad. Just be glad you're in the AFC South. That's all I can say. Like,
thoughts and prayers for Nico, or not Nico Collins.
Tank Dell. Yeah. Oh, that was a brutal injury. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was the Chiefs game, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man, that was gosh. Yeah, he's going to be out for a while. I know they had to.
Yeah, they said he might not be back for 2025.
Yeah, it's thoughts and prayers to him, man. And he was already coming off of.
Well, I think he had another knee injury one year, but then he was shot in the off season.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of, man. Yeah, thoughts and prayers to him. So moving to the Chargers, who currently hold the 6th seed. However, they can move up to the 5th seed if things break their way. They're coming off of back-to-back wins against the Broncos, 34-27. That was presented by Melvin Gordon. And at the Patriots that we kind of talked about a minute ago, 40-7. That one was also presented by Doug Flutie. Back-to-back Patriots games that were presented by Doug Flutie. But, the Chargers, I think this is the sneaky team. Like, this is the team. I was thinking about this before we turned the mics on. Like, I feel like the 3 best teams in the AFC are those first 3: the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens.
Yep.
And then that 4th team, I think right now is the Chargers. Just kind of by process of elimination, but I do think
they also have.
kind of.
I think they've got the quarter. I don't know if you necessarily want to say they've got the best quarterback. That's arguable. I guess you could argue that with Stroud, but they've got the one that's playing best right now.
Yeah,
and they don't have a lot of offensive like weapons that you're really afraid of outside of Ladd McConkey. But they've got a functional team and they seem to know what they're well coached.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I would trust Harbaugh pretty much, and we have the potential. We have the potential of a Harbaugh Bowl either in the wild card round, or we could see it potentially in the divisional round.
Can the Chargers get up to the 5 and play the Texans?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. If that happens, I will be slamming the Chargers money line on that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll talk about all the permutations here in a minute. All right, so let's move on to so these next 3 teams are still in the hunt. The team that's in the driver's seat for the 7th seed right now is the Broncos. They're coming off of back-to-back losses at the Chargers, 34-27. We just mentioned that one. And at the Bengals, 30-24 in overtime. That one was presented by Garrison Hurst. That was probably the game of the week, honestly. That just felt like a game where the Bengals were trying to give it away. And I know there a lot have been made about Peyton's clock management and all that. And then I remember at one point in overtime, I thought, well, the Broncos just need a tie, because if they had tied, the Broncos would have clinched the playoff spot. And that didn't happen, obviously, but Bengals did what they had to do to win, despite the best efforts of their kicker to not win. But yeah, the Broncos, I don't know. I think, I don't know. I probably need to ask Donnie. I was texting back and forth with our friend Donnie, the Broncos fan, and messaging back and forth with him during the game. And I don't know how. Let me ask you: if you were a Broncos fan, would you want them to? I mean, obviously, you want them to make the playoffs, but do you really want them to make the playoffs just to get boat raced by the Bills?
I think there's some value there in getting a young quarterback some early playoff experience.
Yeah.
Even if it's getting run out of the building. I think you can. There's some learning experience. You get to at least see what it's like. I don't know. Like I don't think it's gonna like destroy Bo Nix's potential if they do.
Yeah.
So, or
No.
if it probably won't hurt their draft stock enough for it to be too detrimental to
Yeah.
for them.
But yeah, you talk about slamming. If the Broncos do make it and they have to go to Buffalo that first weekend, you might want to Bills Chargers parlay might be in your
In my
might
future.
in your future there.
Uh,
So if
I
go
will
ahead.
say, if you're playing the Bills, you could get one of those like random Josh Allen games, especially with the good defense, and I think that's probably what you're hoping
That
for there.
is that
That's
is true.
that's
And
your prayer.
these two teams, Bills and Broncos, have not played each other this year. I don't think.
I don't think
I don't.
so.
I don't think they've played each other yet. And look, Sean Payton. I know I'm biased, but Sean Payton he's a good coach, so he'll have them prepared one way or the other. So if the Broncos, like I said, the Broncos are in the driver's seat. If they were to slip up week 18, the next team in line would be the Dolphins. Dolphins are coming off a win against the 49ers, 29-17. That was brought to you by Reggie Bush. And a win at Cleveland, almost by default. That was 20-3. That was brought to you by Duke Johnson. The reason I say that, the Browns were starting DTR. The Dolphins, Tua ended up not starting, and it was literally like the day before. It's like, oh, by the way, Tua's got a hip that he can't. So they threw out Snoop Huntley, former Pro Bowler Snoop Huntley, and he did enough. I mean, he did what they needed to do to get a win, because had they lost that game, they would have been eliminated from the playoffs. But yeah, so if you're the Bills, here are your options so far for your first playoff game. You got the Broncos with a rookie quarterback. You got the Dolphins with maybe Tua or maybe Snoop Huntley. Or behind door number 3, your next team, the Cincinnati Bengals, who are coming off a win against the Browns, 24-6. Jason Campbell presented that one. And a win, the overtime win that we just talked about against the Broncos, 30-24. I mean, there's talks of, have you heard these conspiracy theories of like the Chiefs losing to the Broncos on purpose so the Bengals don't get in the playoffs?
I wouldn't put it past them,
because that's what it is. If the Broncos beat the Chiefs, they're in, and the Dolphins and Bengals are eliminated. That's the scenario right now. So because if the Bengals were to get in, they would obviously be the 7th. So these 3 teams that we just talked about can get no higher than the 7th seed. Like that's the highest they can get.
so they can just get in and that's it.
Just get in and that's it. So if the Bengals were the 7th seed, they would play Buffalo first. If they win that, lowest seeded team goes to the 1 seed, which is the Chiefs, right? And then so there's all these conspiracy theories about like, but look, I think the Bengals. And then there's talk of like, if the Bengals make the playoffs, Burrow should be MVP. I still think it's going to be out, but like I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, Burrow's had a phenomenal year, but that defense is just too
so
much. Like
bad.
we talked about it. Like there was a point in the season where we were on the show and we were talking about, like, they got to start stringing these wins together, and I think they just waited. They just waited
a
too
little
long.
too late.
They waited a little too late. It was that game against, I'm trying to remember. It was probably the Baltimore game, the second Baltimore game that they lost. I think that's the one they lost because the holder dropped the ball or something.
They lost both of those games in some weird
kicking
issues.
Yeah, if you win one of those games, then now you're in the driver's seat potentially. So
yeah, and they also needed a blocked punt to have a blocked punt on their team go their way to even be in this position.
Yeah, I forget which team they beat in that scenario.
I don't know. It escapes my mind.
All right, so now let's talk. We'll kind of run through the teams that have been eliminated in the AFC, starting with the Colts. Oh boy, they beat the Titans week 16, 38-30. That was presented by Kerry Collins, and then I don't know how they did it, but they lost to the Giants 45-33. That was brought to you by Paris Campbell. I've
Impressive.
never seen.
Impressive work.
Yeah, I mean, for a team that literally they actually would have been ahead of the Dolphins had they beaten the
Beat the
Giants,
Giants.
right? Because they beat the Dolphins, I believe, earlier in the year, so they would be in that kind of pole position should the Broncos lose. Yeah, and then I don't know if you saw this, but like Pat McAfee went on his show, and he's a Colts alum, and he's very disappointed, let's say, in the what happened. Shane Steichen, I've heard maybe on the hot seat. I've also heard that Chris Ballard, the GM, maybe on the hot seat. I know. Look, I know Ursay. He's one of these owners. I don't know if he's Steinbrenner esque, where he like fires
Fires
people like it's
people like
bodily
it's a
function.
body function.
But I mean, he's probably and the thing was like with the game against the Giants too. Richardson couldn't play. I forget what his injury was. And Flacco, man, like the last couple times they've thrown Flacco out there, he's just been I
What
don't
you
know,
kind of
maybe.
expect Joe Flacco to actually be.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this guy was this time last year. Flacco was taking the Browns to the playoffs. Like,
How'd that
so,
last game work out for him though?
yeah, fair enough. Well, anyway, uh, speaking of teams with quarterback problems, the Jets, they've been eliminated. They lost Week 16 to the Rams, 19-9. That was presented by Joe Namath. And we talked about them losing at the Bills. Actually, Tyrod Taylor came in that Bills game.
Looked pretty
Scored,
good.
looked pretty good. Word on the street is that Rodgers is going to start this week against the Dolphins, which, again, if you're a Bengals fan, you're rooting for the Jets in that game.
Good luck with that.
Apparently, they're trying to get Rodgers his 500th touchdown pass, and it hasn't happened yet. So I think this is going to be a situation where, should he get it, then they may take him out and let Tyrod finish the game. But
So if you're a Dolphins fan, you're cheering for him to throw that pass as quickly as possible and then get Tyrod into the game.
I don't know. I mean, Tyrod looked pretty good against Buffalo, but I mean, by that point it was 40-0. So I mean, you mean if you're a Bengals fan?
Oh wait, no. So you're a Bengals fan.
Yeah, if you're a Bengals fan, if you're a Dolphins fan, you want to win. Yeah, so
yeah, you want Rodgers to struggle to get that pass,
right? All right.
I did want to mention this above, but I didn't get it. I missed my chance. But have you heard the rumor that Rodgers is out after the season? And someone on Twitter said, "What do you think of Rodgers moving on to Pittsburgh?"
I did see that. We, I don't know if we said this on the show or I just mentioned it to you via text, but like Pittsburgh definitely feels like that quarterback revolving door. Like I think I mentioned because I think I was like, oh, the Saints could just send them Derek Carr. Like Derek Carr could just roll through there. And
there you go.
Yeah.
What are your other options?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We'll talk about it. But yeah, no, I've heard the Rodgers today, I think, said that this could be his last game on Sunday. So maybe he'll.
We can only hope.
Yeah. Well, I really feel bad for Jets fans, man. They deserve. I'd say they deserve better. I mean,
I think most of humanity deserves better than that.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Packers fans are doing just fine. By the way, think about the last two Packers quarterbacks that have moved on. So you have Rodgers, who's his own.
Went to the Jets.
Well, has his own issues. But then think about Favre and like where Favre is right now with like the whole welfare scandal and all that stuff. Like, man.
Both of them went to the Jets and things went wrong.
Right. Yeah. Go figure. Speaking of things going wrong, the Jaguars, they've been eliminated. They lost to the Raiders 19-14. That was presented by Desmond Howard. That was in Week 16. But they did beat the Titans 20-13. Week 17, that was my my upset that didn't happen. That was presented by Jonathan Cyprian. The Jags, look, I guess they're going to fire Peterson. I don't know.
They said that
Lawrence.
weeks
So
ago.
yeah, I I thought about this today. I was like, I'm almost to the point where I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't fire Peterson. If they just like maybe fired Bulky, the GM. I don't know. That it feels like there's
It's a
changes
mess.
coming. The thing about that team is you're in the AFC South. That division is winnable if you have competent,
Anything.
play anything. I mean, like I said, the Texans are not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. So, uh, moving on here, the Patriots, they have two loss. So the rest of these teams have both lost. Actually, no, I'm sorry. The next three teams have both lost two in a row. The last team has actually won two in a row. We'll talk about that. The Patriots lost two in a row at the Bills, 24-21, and versus the Chargers, 4-7. Mentioned this a minute ago. Both of those games brought to you by Doug Flutie. The Drake looks pretty good, when he's not running for his life.
The mayo might have expired.
So here's the thing. The Patriots at this point, as we sit here today, own the number one pick in the draft. If they lose to the Bills on Sunday, they will lock in that number one pick, and they can sell it for a king's ransom for whoever needs to move up and get a quarterback. And the prevailing thought, what I've read, is Mike Vrabel wants the job.
That makes sense
and
from hiring someone from the Patriots.
Well, the other thing is, like, I don't know if you remember this, but when he was the Titans head coach, the Patriots honored him. Like, they put him in the Ring of Honor or whatever. And apparently the Titans got mad about that, and that's why they let him go. Like, that's what I heard that today, and I'm like, it sounds weird, but okay.
Sounds like something the Titans would get mad at.
Yeah, but what I'll say is, if I'm the Patriots, I at least think about it, right? Like, you at least have that conversation. If he especially if Vrabel wants the job, you know what I mean? Like, I just think, you gotta. And then again with the Drake May pick, did you hear this wild? This came from Nick Wright, so proceed with caution.
Grain of salt.
Great, huge grain of salt. He was like, well, they should look into drafting Travis Hunter and then trade Drake May for the first round pick so they can draft Shador. And it's like, no, why would they do that?
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? But anyway, yeah. So I think I'm still pretty high on the pay. I'm really curious to see what they do in the offseason. They're one of those teams I'm really going to kind of follow in the offseason because they've got a lot of cap space. They're obviously going to have a high draft pick, if not the first pick overall.
Mm-hmm.
So could be one of those things where they get, and if you look at their division, right, obviously Buffalo's really good, but like the Jets and Miami are not, leaps and bounds better, I would say, than.
Well, the Jets certainly aren't leaps and bounds better than anything.
Well, the Jets, but like even the Dolphins, like it feels like the Dolphins are so dependent on Tua's health and like
and they might be making a coaching change. They might be in transition this year as well.
Right.
So there's room for
another team in transition. The Browns. They just redid Deshaun's contract. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that. So they can get out after next year.
Yeah, I think he's there 2 more years, basically.
See, I heard they can get out of it more easily after 2025.
Okay, maybe. I also heard. Go ahead.
He's not guaranteed to be the starter next year, which I think all Browns fans would be happy about.
I've heard Kirk Cousins' name banted about. That's what they need. Kirk Cousins and Deshaun Watson on the same.
That'll do it for you.
They are coming off back-to-back losses at the Bengals, 24-6, and home against the Dolphins, 20-3. Yeah, we talked about this. I don't think they're going to move on from Stefanski, especially now that we just talked about, like, Deshaun is not guaranteed to be the starter. Right. They've played they're probably not going to get Cam Ward or Shador in the draft. I don't think they're high enough in the draft order. I want to say they're. I can look it up, but I don't. I want to say so. I want to say they're like, well, actually, they're probably 3 or 4, so maybe they could. But anyway, but it sounds like they're just gonna roll with Deshaun, maybe sign someone like Kirk Cousins to have competition. I don't. If I was them, I'd bring back Jameis. Honestly, like
That's better
I don't
than
know.
most of the options they'll have out there. I think I'd take
Well, I don't.
Jameis over Kurt.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and then use the draft pick to kind of rebuild the. They could be a team that trades back, get some draft capital, you know, move forward. Another team with quarterback issues, let's say, the Titans, coming off back-to-back losses at the Colts, 38-30, and at the Jaguars, 20-13. Have you heard that Levis and Rudolph are playing on Sunday?
Yeah, that'll be fun. I hope they put him in on the same snap.
That'd be
Have them
awesome.
fight over the ball.
I really wanted one of the things I really wanted this season was Will Levis to just be serviceable. Not necessarily like good, but just like I felt like there's something there. Like he's got something.
There's something there, all right.
There's something there. And then lo and behold, the one team that has actually won 2 games in a row of this group, the Las Vegas Raiders, beat the Jaguars 19-14, presented by Desmond Howard. And then they went to New Orleans and won 25-10, presented by Derek Carr, appropriately enough. Listen, I watched a good bit of that. Obviously, watched a good bit of the Raiders Saints game. I was at my mom's house. So we had the game on. I mean, Brock Bowers is good.
Yeah, he
Like
is.
he's definitely good. Aiden O'Connell looked competent, but I mean, against the Saints defense, that's not saying much.
Aiden O'Connell seems like a perfectly serviceable NFL backup, and that's about all
Absolutely.
he'll ever be.
Absolutely, yeah. I would. That's what I would say. The problem with the Raiders is they've basically played themselves out of a top 3 pick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously they can still trade up, but and they're playing the Chargers this week, so I don't know. I found a website or I didn't find it. I was listening to NFL Stock Exchange podcast, and they were talking about this website that you can go in, you can plug in like the results for Week 18,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll tell you how that impacts the draft order. And I don't think the Raiders can't get to the number 1 pick. The only teams that can get to the number 1 pick are the Patriots, obviously, because they have the number 1 pick. The Titans, the Browns, and the Giants.
Yeah, because those 4 teams are all 3-13 right now.
Right. And it's in that order. So like if the Patriots win, then the Titans are up. Then if the Titans win, it's the Browns. And then if the Browns win, it's the Giants needs those 3 teams to lose basically to get the number 1 pick. Mm-hmm. And they have to, or no, sorry, those 3 teams to win. And then the Giants have to lose to get the number 1 pick. If I remember correctly. But anyway, any thoughts on any more thoughts on the AFC?
Nope, that should do it for me. I think we can move on to the more
national
fun conference.
Yeah, the National Football Conference. Well, I would say this conference is more. I don't want to say unpredictable. It's more up in the air.
More open.
More open. The Lions. We'll start with them. They have clinched the playoffs. They obviously have not clinched the division or the number 1 seed. That'll happen this week. They're coming off back-to-back wins. They beat the Bears 34-17, presented by Chase Daniel. We talked a little bit about the Monday night game at San Francisco, 40-34 over the 49ers. That was brought to you by Kerry and Johnson. This Lions team, I almost texted you over the break and said, I think the Lions might be one and done in the playoffs. Like, it just feels like the injuries are catching up with them. And then they go to San Francisco and just, like, figure it out. Like they just – so I don't know. I'm rooting for this. Honestly, like this is the team I'm probably rooting for the most
Oh,
in terms of
absolutely.
when the playoffs come around, and not just because the Saints most likely will be hiring Aaron Glenn as their next head coach, but uh, I there are a lot of Saints staff. Like Dan Campbell was on the Saints staff. Aaron Glenn was. He played for the Saints, so it's just easy to. They have a few former Saints players on their team, so be easy. It'll be easy to root for them. This next team, I don't think you'll be rooting for in
I don't think I will.
any shape, form, or fashion. That would be the Philadelphia Eagles. They have clinched the NFC East. They are now locked into the number 2 seed. They did lose at the Commanders in a wild game, 36-33. That was presented by Marcus Mariota. They did, unfortunately for you, beat the Cowboys this past week, 41-7, presented by DeMarco Murray. So yeah, they're locked into the 2 seed. We talked a little bit about this a minute ago or a little while ago. Saquon hit 2,000 yards.
Mm-hmm.
He's not playing this week. Sounds like.
So he will not set the record.
He will not set. Well, I mean, yeah, he will not set the record. And as a couple people have said today on the shows I've listened to, he wouldn't have done it in 16 games anyway, which is Eric Dickerson did it in 16. OJ Simpson back in the day, he 14. Did it in 14 games. Yeah, so not to bring up the name of OJ Simpson on the show, but here's what it is.
I have a couple of
okay, go ahead.
So first of all, I want to bring up my theory that Cooper Rush is a secret closeted Eagles fan.
Okay.
During his run of games, he's been pretty good at protecting the ball, right?
I would say so, yeah.
Goes to play against Philly, throws 2 incredibly bad interceptions. Starting to like that. So that game was pretty much over by halftime so Dallas got the ball, moved the ball really well, and then pick 6 to CJ Gardner-Johnson, gets the ball back.
Saints
the ball
legend.
again.
Saints legend, CJ.
Yeah.
CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Gets the ball back, moved the ball perfectly easily again, touchdown, and so it's 7-7. And then after that, Cooper Rush just decides to, like, the Cowboys fumble, another interception where Cooper Rush throws it into triple coverage for no reason. So I'm starting to wonder if he's actually a secret either.
So he did
a Eagles fan or a sleeper agent.
He pulled a Neil O'Donnell, is what you're saying.
Yes, I think so.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and accuse the gentleman of.
Well, I'll do it, Paul. If you won't do it,
I feel you're better equipped to do so, being you are a Cowboys fan. But we'll move on from that. We don't want to find ourselves in litigation here with Cooper Rush. Let's move on to the Rams. So the Rams have clinched the NFC West in kind of a weird clinching scenario. I'll talk about that more in a minute. So they beat the Jets 19-9. That was presented by Joe Namath. And then they beat the Cardinals 13-9. That was presented by Aeneas Williams. So I think you can look at this team one of two ways. You can look at it as a team that can win games multiple ways. Like they don't just have to outscore you like they did with Buffalo a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Or you can look at it as their offense has hit a wall and now they're kind of limping into the playoffs a little bit. I still think if you have Stafford and you have Kupp and you have Puka and they're healthy, it looks like they're going to rest their starters this week. They're playing, they are playing Seattle. And I'm sure people know this by now, but I just want to drive this home. So basically, if Seattle wins this game, they will have the same overall record, head-to-head record, division record, and conference record as the Rams. So those 4 tiebreakers will not break any ties.
Okay.
The next tiebreaker is strength of victory, which the Rams clinched once the Commanders beat the Falcons this past Sunday. So that's how the Rams are your NFC West champions. There was one scenario where it would have worked out for Seattle, but it was dependent on like 12 outcomes, and the first of those outcomes was Atlanta had to beat Washington. So once Atlanta lost to Washington this past week, then that was that. So sorry for Seattle, but that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And Seattle also can't get a wild card because the Packers beat them. So even if they finish with the same record as the Packers, they would have. Well, and the Packers have more wins too, anyway. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to so a team that is on the brink of clinching their division. They need a win over the Saints, so that pretty much means they're going to do it. But the Buccaneers, I have to say, pretty impressed with Tampa Bay. Except for, they did lose to the Cowboys week 16, 26-24, presented by Vinny Testaverde.
That's a shame.
That's a shame. But they did rebound with an impressive victory over the Panthers, 48-14. That was presented by Chandler Catanzaro. I think Tampa's kind of a sneaky team. I feel like when they're clicking on all cylinders, I think they can compete with any of these teams, honestly, in the NFC. So basically for them, they have to win this week. Like I mentioned, if they beat the Saints, they clinch the NFC South. And if the Rams lose against Seattle and Tampa wins, Tampa will be the 3 seed. And the Rams will move back to the 4 seed. So I think if you're Tampa, that's appealing to you because that means you can potentially play the Commanders as opposed to playing, say, the Vikings or the Lions.
Right.
So, and they've already beaten the Commanders way back in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously that was a long time ago and things have changed, but all in still that they could also end up playing the Packers if they're the 3 seed, but we'll talk more about all those scenarios in a minute. A team that has clinched the playoffs, again, they'll be facing the Lions this week for the NFC North title and the 1 seed. That's the Vikings. They beat the Seahawks 27-24. That was presented by Gino Torretta. And they beat the Packers this past week 27-25. And that was presented by Brett Favre, who we mentioned a minute ago. The Vikings, man, they just keep on. They're just a team that I don't know. I think O'Connell has locked up Coach of the Year.
Yep.
Because they just never beat themselves. Like if you're going to beat the Vikings, you got to beat them. Like they're not going to just hand you the game.
They're very well coached on both, and they're well coached on both sides of the ball too. And
I think Flores has maybe coached himself into another head coaching job potentially,
depending on the lawsuit.
Depending on that's gonna
that might put a damper on things.
Muddy the waters a little.
You are aware.
You are. I am aware.
I'm aware.
But yeah, so I'm really looking forward. Look, I think this couldn't have worked out better for the NFL. Game 272, the last game of the year, last regular season game of the year, on NBC, Sunday Night Football, Vikings at Lions, 1 seed's on the line, NFC North's on the line, all that stuff. So sometimes it just looks out for you.
Yep.
Speaking of teams that maybe have lucked out a little bit, the Commanders, they have clinched a playoff spot. They are currently in the driver's seat for the 6th seed, coming off back-to-back wins. They beat the Eagles 36-33. Mm-hmm. They beat the Falcons 30-24 in overtime. That one was brought to you by D'Angelo Hall. I'm not scared of the Commanders if I'm a team. Like that's why I said if I'm the Bucks and I can potentially get up to the 3 seed and the Commanders are the 6 seed, I'd much rather that option than be the 4 seed and have to play the Vikings or the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Daniels is obviously good. Like I'm not saying he's not, and I'm not taking anything away from them, but Like the Falcons really should have beat them. Like the Falcons had them in that game, and to quote the late great Dennis Green, they just let them off the hook, kind of thing.
Yep.
So
That's the thing about the Commanders is they're another one of those teams where it's kind of hot and cold, where they'll have moments where they kind of just lose the plot, and just sort of
yeah,
like they can get hot at times, but they can also just kind of go off the rails a little bit. And if Daniel's like, if he scrambles a little too much, or if he takes a big hit, you kind of wonder about how that affects the game. Now, personally,
yep.
I was really hoping that the Falcons would have beat the Commanders so that the Cowboys could have played spoiler. But now, I think what I'm
Yeah.
actually hoping for is that Green Bay, who we'll talk about next, ends up as the 7th seed and then goes into Philly, and then does a reprisal of what they did as the 7th seed last year.
Well, that's what I was going to mention. So let's talk about it. So Green Bay has clinched a playoff spot. This is why the NFL is so weird. So Green Bay has 5 losses now in the season, right? They've lost to the Lions twice, they've lost to the Vikings twice, and they lost to the Eagles
In the first game of the season in Brazil.
In the first game of the season in Brazil. But the way it shaped out, the Packers right now are not in the driver's seat. They're in the 7th seed. So to your point a minute ago, they need the Cowboys to beat the Commanders, and they have to beat the Bears to get to the 6th seed. But real quick before let's just recap how they got here. So week 16, this was on Festivus. They beat the Saints 34-0. God, that I don't know why I stayed up and watched that whole game, but I did. It's presented by Danny Werfel. Danny Werfel deserves better.
Does he? He had his helmet on backwards for that game.
I should have had a helmet on backwards for that game. And then they lost this past week at the Vikings 27-25, as we just mentioned. So here's my hot take. I don't know if it's a hot take. If the Packers go into Philadelphia, they can beat them.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the final 4 in the NFC is going to be the 3 North teams and Tampa Bay.
Lock it in, folks.
I think that's what it's going to be. So if that happens, that would mean Tampa's the 3 seed. So they would beat the Commanders. Vikings would beat let's say the Vikings lose to Detroit. So Vikings beat the Rams. So the Packers would have to go to Detroit because they'd be the 7th seed.
Yep.
And then the Vikings would play the Bucks, which would be in Tampa.
Correct.
And it would be a matchup of 2 former Carolina Panthers quarterbacks, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield.
Their careers.
Panthers fans, look away if you're going to watch that game. If that happens,
yeah. So if you're having a bad career, you go to Carolina,
right?
And then you play for a season. You're fixed.
Yep.
You moved on, and then you're good. Just don't stay in Carolina.
Just whatever you do, get the hell out of Carolina.
Exactly.
All right. The last team that could make the playoffs, but the only way they can do it is they have to win the NFC South, which means the Saints have to beat Tampa Bay. Good luck.
Good luck with that.
The Falcons. Now, the Falcons week 16, impressive win. I know it was against the Giants, but 34-7. That was presented by Danny Cannell. As we mentioned a minute ago, they did lose at the Commanders this past week. So, yeah, the Falcons, they should have just gone to Penix earlier, right? Like, if they switched to Penix a month ago,
they'd be in a lot better spot now.
That's a shame. But, yeah, so they need to beat Carolina, which actually, spoiler alert, I don't think they're beating Carolina. I think Carolina's beating them this week, but that's we'll talk about that.
Is that an upset pick?
That's a tease. Maybe. All right, let's talk about the teams that have been eliminated here real quick. So we'll start with the Seahawks. Like I said, they're eliminated basically based on that strength of victory metric. They lost to the Vikings 27-24. That was presented by Gino Torretta. They beat the Bears in the worst game of the entire season. 6-3, brought to you by Rick Meyer. I don't know if Rick Meyer deserved any better, but the fans deserved better for sure. I didn't watch a second of that game, and when I woke up the next morning, I was like, "Wait, what was the score?"
I think I checked the score and it was like it was either 3-3 or 6-3, and I was like, "Oh, I'm not turning that garbage on." And then I checked the
No,
score when when the game had gone final. I was like, "Well, I'm glad I didn't turn that garbage on."
keep keep the blinds up, or yeah,
Keep the
keep
blinds
the blinds
down.
down. Keep the blinds down for that one. Yeah. Yeah, man, that was. Whew. But I will say for Seattle, if I'm a fan of Seattle, I'm probably pretty happy with how I mean, you're going to be a 10-win. Now, look, you're going to be a 10-win team maybe and miss the playoffs, which that sucks. But like, if I told a Seattle fan at the beginning of the year, "Hey, you're going to win 10 games," they probably would have taken that,
Yeah,
right?
you feel pretty good about it.
New head coach, um, like I, they outperformed what I thought. I thought they were going to finish 7-10, and they might finish the reverse of that. So, what do I know?
Yeah.
Another NFC, well, two more NFC West teams here. The Cardinals, they lost. So the game that really eliminated the Cardinals at Carolina, 36-30 in overtime. Ted Ginn Jr. presented that one. That was, yeah, that was Bryce Young. Like, we'll talk about. I want to talk about Bryce Young more when we get to the Panthers. But like that
Chuba
was
too. Chuba had he's the one
Chuba.
that
Yep,
closed it out.
yep, Chuba. But for the Cardinals, like, and then the Cardinals also lost 13-9 to the Rams. We talked about that a minute ago. Kyler he's just, I don't know, man. His ceiling, he gets to that ceiling, man, and that's it. Like, it's
But I think the Cardinals, with what happened, so we kind of went in with expectations of them, and then for a little bit of the season, they started to outperform it. And
yep,
then as the season slowly went on, they kind of like regressed back to what we expected, right? So
yep.
they end up where we expected them, but there was just that moment where like,
They
well,
just, yeah,
maybe they're better than we
they
expect.
they took a circuitous route to get
Yes,
to where we all knew they were going to end up, basically.
exactly.
So yeah, a team that ended up someplace we didn't think they would. That's the 49ers. Man, and then I don't know if you saw this. Brock Purdy's not playing this week. Uh, it's going to be Josh Dobbs going against the Cardinals.
The
Uh,
Pastronaut.
the Pastronaut, yeah. Well, they're coming off a loss at the Dolphins, 29-17. We talked about that, and then the Monday night game. I will say this though, and we talked about this earlier. That might have been one of the better Monday night games all season against the Lions. Back and forth, nobody punted. Like, just a really, just a good game for what it's worth. I mean, I know it didn't break the 49ers way, but with them, I don't know. Like, they're a weird. I feel like next season, if they come back next season and they end up like 10-7, then everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, okay, it was just
A blip.
a blip." But if they start out rough next season, I'm wondering how that could get ugly. I think.
Right.
I mean, there was talk about Shanahan leaving. There was talk about, are they going to sign Purdy? I don't know if I'd sign. I don't know if I'd sign Purdy at this point, but I don't know.
Trey Lance. Trey Lance will be available.
Oh yeah, they can go back down that road. I like this idea.
I like this idea.
Uh,
The most
speaking of, go ahead. Speaking of Trey Lance,
Yeah.
his current team. You want to talk about? Your Cowboys there?
Yeah, I had a great time watching the Buccaneers game. Got to watch it with my whole family.
Yeah, yeah.
They canceled the rest of the season, which was good after
That's
that.
that's a
So
shame. That's
so
a
we
shame.
got to go out on a winning note. So full disclosure, we talked about this before the show, but so we were supposed to drive back to Houston for my parents on Saturday, but because of the rainstorms and the thunderstorms, tornado warnings that were going on,
Yep.
we
Yep.
decided to stay. Well, that evening I got like a cold or something where I was like had chills, and so I wasn't feeling well. So we drove back Sunday. We left during the Cowboy game. My wife was driving, and so I was like just kind of I had the game on my phone as we were driving back. Ended up having to pull over because my stomach got upset. So I don't know if that
Okay.
was motion sickness or because I was watching the Cowboys Eagles game. Um, So then,
combination of things.
yeah, pretty much. And so then after that, we got home, and I basically was out for like a day and a half after that.
Right.
Was up for a little bit on Monday, but didn't get to watch much. But yeah, I was really hoping that they would be able to play a little more spoiler, but the
Yeah.
Washington win over Atlanta kind of put a damper on that part of it. So, I mean, I've seen some good stuff. They've also had like a lot of injuries that have kind of like wrecked them. They were playing Andrew. They had to play Andrew Booth at cornerback, which is, as I mentioned before, Andrew Booth
Yeah.
turned the Cowboys into Abraham Lincoln because he was killing us. So,
But yeah, that
and
yeah.
a very very sad farewell to Ezekiel Elliott. Best of
Oh
luck
yeah, that's right.
trying to find a playoff team that'll take you. Happy trails. We salute you.
My cousin. Yeah, my cousin.
Your cousin, no longer with the team.
No longer with the team. Yeah, I think I saw the he might sign with the Chargers. I think that's the name the team I saw. I don't know. I mean, because they've been. I know Dobbins has been off and on injured, and Gus Edwards has been off and on injured.
They do love a washed, injury-prone running back, don't they?
There you go. There you go. Speaking of washed, my team, they've scored 10 points. 10 points in the last 2 weeks against the Packers and against the Raiders.
How you feeling? How you feeling about the season, Paul?
Not great. They're 13.5-point underdogs against the Bucks this week. I keep thinking, I want to get Rattler a good evaluation. And look, the first half against the Raiders, he looked pretty good, honestly. And then in the second half, he looked like a rookie. Like that's the thing I think with a lot of Saints fans are like, we're just not used to this rookie quarterback life,
Mm-hmm.
Like we had 16 years or 15 years of Breeze. That's like kind of got spoiled a little bit. It's kind of like I feel like the Saints and Patriots are kind of in the same boat a little bit. The difference being the Patriots have a number 3 overall pick at quarterback, and the Saints have Spencer Rattler, who, and so I don't know what's going to happen next season. We'll talk about this in a little bit. I do hope, and I mentioned this on the show before, I do hope they do a thorough search. I've actually, a name I've heard connected with the Saints possibly for head coach.
Well, Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, he did coach with the Saints. He was the OC back in the Jim Haslett days, I think. So if the Cowboys do move on from him, and honestly, I feel like the coach that they hire this cycle will not be the coach in 2027.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I feel like they may opt for a coach that will just kind of get them through this rough
ball
patch.
guy / bridge coach, basically.
Yeah, and then, I mean, I don't know. That's just my feeling right now. I hope they hire. Don't get me wrong. I hope they hire a coach that's there for 20 years. Like, Peyton was there for 16, but I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of. But also, this also feels like the last coach that Mickey Loomis will hire as GM.
Mm-hmm. You're hoping,
but well, I mean, because if he gets it wrong, then I would think. The whole Mickey Loomis thing is weird. I don't know how much you know about, but basically he has a very close relationship with the Bensons.
Yeah.
Like he's basically in their will, like literally in their will. So like firing him is not. It's difficult. It's complicated. But
it's going to be very difficult to extricate yourself from the proceedings.
The hope a lot of Saints fans have is that Mickey will just kind of excuse himself. Yeah, basically like take a different position in the organization. I mean, look, we have Jeff Ireland Jeff Ireland's on the staff. Like he's basically been doing our draft for the last couple of years. And when Jeff Ireland gets to make the picks, they're usually pretty good. When Mickey Loomis gets to make the picks, it's not so much. So,
not so much.
But anyway, we may talk more about that later. But yeah, let's just get to the end of the season, and also I'll just say, like with Darren Rizzi, I hate the fact, huh?
Thanks for your service.
Well, but I hate the fact that he's probably not gonna get hired, and that means we're gonna lose him. Like he's gonna go because if I doubt whoever the new coach is. I mean, yeah, maybe not, but I doubt that they'll just be like, oh yeah, let's just bring the former interim coach back, and
right.
But anyway, moving on here. Another team that will be looking for a new coach, the Bears. They have lost what? How many? They've lost 10 in a row, 9 in a row.
10 in a row. Yeah, I was looking at Tankathon. They're up to 10.
Yeah, I think I saw. The highest that the Bears can get. Oh, by the way, the Saints on their draft pick, the highest they can get is 8, which for a 5-win team is kind of ridiculous if you think about it. This team won 5 games, and the highest they can get is the 8th pick in the draft. But anyway, the Bears. Shout out to Andy, the Bears fan. Hopefully, better days ahead for them. But I don't know, man. Like there's another team I'm gonna be interested to see what they do in terms of coaching. Ben Johnson's the name that keeps coming up. Apparently, I read somewhere that Ben Johnson wants the job, but people in the Bears organization are kind of Ryan Poles, who's the GM, likes Brian Flores, who we talked about a minute ago. Apparently, he and Flores have a previous relationship, so. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see. And also, we should mention Mike Vrabel is available for interviews now because his contract with the Browns, he was a special assistant with the Browns this year. That contract has expired, so he can now interview with
special assistant to the general manager.
Yep, sure. Apparently, people within the Browns organization speak very highly of Vrabel and the job he did. I really want to know what happened in Tennessee, like why Tennessee decided to just move on from, by all indications, a very successful coach. I mean, he had the Tennessee Titans as the 1 seed in the AFC with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback. Think about that for a minute, folks. Like, I think the guy's pretty good at coaching, so I don't know what happened, but maybe we'll find out somewhere down the road. Last two here, Panthers. We talked a little bit about them before. I'm really impressed with Bryce Young and just how he's been able to
come back from where he was.
I wanted to text you this the other day, but I thought I'd save it for the show. Can you win comeback player of the year when you sucked in the middle of the season? And then because Andy Dalton
I've come back from the first 6 weeks.
Right. But I mean, no, he really, and again, it's just a weird thing. Like Andy Dalton gets into that car accident, and that's the only reason Bryce Young got to start again, and he's made the most of it. I know he had the Bucks game. I feel like the Bucks were on a mission in that game.
They were furious about losing that game to the Cowboys.
Yeah, so that I put that more, but I don't be surprised if the Panthers beat the Falcons this week. So we'll see. And then last but not least, the New York Football Giants, who
are you sure it's not least?
I know their demise brings much pain to your heart, being a Cowboys fan.
I'm sobbing over here. I'm in tears. Can't you? Let me get a tissue.
They as with their win over the Colts this past week, they may have played themselves out of the Shedeur Sanders sweepstakes.
That's a shame.
But yeah, well, and you know what else they played themselves out of? My prediction. I had them going 2-15, and now they're going to be At worst, 3-14. So thanks, Giants.
I've been
Thanks for
lying to
nothing.
you for 3 days, and now you're all screwing me.
Oh man. Any other thoughts on the NFC? I really think we'll talk more about this in a little bit, but I really think this conference is up for grabs.
It is.
I think in the playoffs, the NFC games potentially will be better than the AFC games.
Yeah. I think
Just on paper,
even especially like for the first round, especially for
Yeah.
the wild card round.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. We had you mentioned some storms coming through. We had a bit of a cold front. I think I feel a draft, Brandon.
I feel a draft.
I feel a draft. Let's change tables.
Get out of here. We have a booth.
All right. So for this draft, we didn't do a draft last episode. We kind of reviewed our drafts previous episodes, but we're going to do, it's a new year. It's 2025. So we're going to do some New Year's resolutions now. Brandon, we're going to try to keep these specific to our teams. Mm-hmm. So obviously the Saints for me, the Cowboys for you. But we might also open it up to other things, maybe.
Yeah, I've got some ideas for for the league to a couple of resolutions.
Sure. The league. Sure. So we'll do 4 each, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll acquiesce to you. Do you want to go first, or do you want to take the turn here?
I think I'll take the first pick here.
Okay.
All right.
Proceed.
So with my first pick, I'm gonna. I think I'm going to hire a new offensive coordinator.
Okay,
that doesn't necessarily so whether it's by moving on from McCarthy and hiring an offensive coach, or bringing in somebody to install a better offensive system, McCarthy does a good job of like managing the team. Like they played hard for him. They've had Dak's gone out. They've been eliminated for the playoffs, but they're still, like you saw it in that Bucs game, they had been eliminated, but they were still going out there and playing hard. So McCarthy does a good job of that. The only problem is the offensive scheme I'm not a big fan of, and I think that's where they need to kind of someone with a more modern ideas to kind of come in and bring that in. So that's the first thing I'll draft.
Who is the offensive coordinator right now? Is it technically McCarthy, or is it?
It's technically the guy from Seattle, Brian Schottenheimer. Is technically the offensive coordinator. Yeah,
because Kellen Moore is with Philadelphia now, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So again, just to reiterate here, you're saying new OC, not necessarily new coach,
right? But it could come either way.
We haven't really talked about this because now it almost seems, I don't want to say a certainty that McCarthy's coming back, but there's definitely traction towards. Yeah. Wheels are in motion. Feels like. So if they do move on from McCarthy, are you still Ben Johnson?
Still Ben Johnson. I wouldn't mind Liam Cohen though. Liam Cohen's another one. He's been kind of the hot name. Keep Bobby Slowick away from me, please.
Yeah. So for the Saints, this isn't necessarily my resolution, but I was listening to the Locked On Saints podcast hosted by Ross Jackson, and Ross mentioned, so Mickey Loomis, a couple weeks ago, it came out that the Saints are going to hire someone that they're familiar with. I forget exactly how they phrased it, but and Ross was quick to point out on an episode I listened to today that the Saints are familiar with Liam Cohen. They did interview Liam Cohen for the offensive coordinator job back when they decided to go with Pete Carmichael. This is when Peyton left, and we didn't know if Carmichael was going to follow Peyton or if he was going to stay. They interviewed Liam Cohen, so technically they know Liam Cohen, which He's definitely high on my list.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of leads into my resolution. So my resolution for the Saints is, and I mentioned this a little bit with my grievances on our last episode, just have a thorough head coaching search.
Yes.
Like if they end up hiring Aaron Glenn anyway, fine. But don't just talk to Aaron Glenn and
Like one or two other people that you know.
Darren Rizzi and like somebody else. Like
Yeah.
let's have a thorough search. Let's bring in people. Talk to Liam Cohen. Talk to Todd Munkin. Talk to like bring some people in that can uh,
At least get a better read of what's available, right?
Yeah, and so a thorough head coaching search would be my number one resolution for them. And then don't just say like, all right, Aaron Glenn's plan A and Darren Rizzi's plan B or whatever whatever that is. And then I guess my second would be from a draft perspective. I'll just say, don't be afraid to trade back if you're the Saints. The Saints are widely known. They haven't traded back in a long time. When Peyton was there, they were always trading up, trying to get they traded up to get Brandon Cooks. They traded up to get Mark Ingram once upon a time. They traded up to get Marcus Davenport.
That was
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Let's not draft Lamar Jackson. Let's trade up 2 first-round picks to draft frickin' Marcus Davenport, who actually might get a Super Bowl ring because he's on the Lions this year. But that's another story for another day. So don't be afraid to trade back and get some draft assets, because where the Saints are right now, we know that their salary cap what's the word? Challenged.
Oh.
Yeah, they're in salary cap. Yeah, that too. They're salary cap challenged. So they really need young players, right, to come in and fill this roster. They're going to need young players to come in and fill this roster. So I'll be afraid to, if they had and this actually goes to something we were talking about, I think, before. We may have talked about it in the episode. I know we were talking about it before the mics went on. I'm wondering if a team, and I'm not saying the Saints should do this, but actually maybe I am saying the Saints should do this. I'm wondering if a team is going to look at drafting the tight end from Penn State, Tyler Warren, this year, in the hopes that next year they can pair him with Drew Aller, the quarterback.
Who's going back to school.
Who's, as of right now, going back to school. But look, if he keeps having games like he had against Boise State, I mean, if he came out this year, he would be a first-round pick, I think, at this point. Because really, it's Shador and Cam right now. That's really the only. I think he already would have been a first-round pick. Aller, I would say, but for me, for the Saints, trade back, get some assets. Let's just try to rebuild this thing as best we can. I mean, like I said, we're salary cap challenged, and my next resolution might speak to that a little bit, but I'll let you fire off your next two here.
All right, so my first one's also going to be draft related. Mine is going to be, don't draft a running back in the first round.
Okay.
So
you're off the Genty.
I like Genty. I don't like using the number 13 overall pick on him. I'd rather have somebody to go with CeeDee Lamb there.
Can I offer you a hypothetical?
Okay.
So kind of pairing this with my second resolution. What if the Cowboys traded back from 13 to, say, I don't know, 20, 19, 20, somewhere in there?
I still think
Okay.
I still think even in the first round, I think I'd rather just use that somewhere else.
Because somebody's going to draft Genty in the first round, and actually it may even end up being the Saints. Honestly, my perspective on that, from a Saints perspective, I'm not saying from a Cowboys, but from my perspective, like the Saints just need some juice right now. They just need good football players. So like if
That's
they
what
get, yeah,
we need a little more. I think speed is also like kind of the thing that we need, and I think Rico Dowdle is like a perfectly capable back. He's
yeah,
kind of proven that. But if you
I've,
could get somebody, and you don't need to spend a first round pick to get that sort of juice to go with him.
I would implore you to look at Caleb Johnson from Iowa. He's
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a good bit of him. I watch Iowa obviously. Obviously Scatabo from Arizona State that we watched today.
Mm-hmm.
He's
I like
I think
the kid. The kid from
good.
Ohio State's pretty good too.
Henderson,
Yeah.
Trevion Henderson. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they actually have two backs. They have him and they have I don't know if the other back's coming out this year, but Jenkins, I think, was Sean
Yeah.
Jenkins.
Yeah. Henderson's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Henderson. So that, but there you go. There's another Ohio State. So you go from Ezekiel Elliott to Trevion Henderson.
Yes.
Your Ohio State running back. What's your next resolution there?
All right. This time I'm going to go to the free agency route and be more aggressive in free agency. And if that's getting Micah signed earlier instead of having to suffer through a holdout, or just bringing in, I'm not asking them to break the bank on free agents, because I know that can go south pretty quickly if you spend too much, but like just bring in a few more sort of ancillary pieces that you can add to your superstars that you've already got on the team.
What's y'all's salary cap situation looking like?
They should be able to clear like $60 million in cap space, because they'll negotiate, they'll rework
Yeah,
Dak's contract. CD just got his extension. They've got to do the Micah deal, but I think like the Dak deal that they did this year like saved them money on the cap once they finally got it done. So they'll have plenty of cap space next year.
gotcha. Yeah, I've heard you're not worried, I guess, about them potentially trading Micah.
No, I don't think that'll happen.
Okay.
And Micah's already come out in public and said that he's not wanting to set the market for defensive players. He'd rather
Gotcha.
give a little bit back to give him more flexibility. So he's already like said that publicly. So I'm not
Okay.
and he wants to be there too. So I don't think that's an issue. He's also been a really good leader this year, which I think was one of the questions after the last offseason was, is he an actual leader? And he's done that this year. I think Zimmer's done a good job of challenging him, and he stepped up to be like a leader in the locker room. So I think he's answered those questions as well. So that'll be my second pick. So you've got your last two picks here. So where are you going first?
So I will start kind of on a similar path to your last one with free agency. I'm just going to say, don't be afraid to, how shall I word this? Admit you bought a lemon.
Which lemon were you referring to?
The car.
The automotive one?
Yeah, yes, the automotive one. Don't be afraid to do what the Broncos did with Russell Wilson and just cut. Now, this gets complicated with Carr, so I'm just going to say don't be afraid to move on from Carr. The complication here is his injury clause. Mm-hmm. So as we've seen, he hasn't been playing the last couple of weeks.
So not the Santa clause, the injury clause.
No, the injury clause. He's due like a $30 million injury, whatever. Mm-hmm. But he hasn't played the last couple weeks. He got that concussion and he hurt his hand in the Giants game that they had to get a blocked field goal by Brian Brzee to win, which in hindsight, he shouldn't have blocked it because maybe their draft pick would be better, but that's another story for another day. And again, a lot of this is going to depend on who they hire as coach, I think. Because if they do hire, let's say by some chance they do hire Liam Cohen has done pretty well with Baker Mayfield. I would say.
Yeah.
He may look at Derek Carr and say, "Yeah, I can work with this guy. Like I can, Or he may want to work more with Spencer Rattler. He may say, "Look, I can work with him." So, um, if my whole thing is like, and this I guess will kind of tie into my next resolution. Like, don't just reconcile with yourself that the next couple of years are going to suck. Like we're not going to be good. Quit trying to compete, quote unquote, in a bad division. Like Tampa's going to be good for the next couple of years as long as Baker's healthy. It looks like Atlanta's found what they need with Penix for the most part. And then like Carolina, like we just talked about with Bryce Young, like they're going to be and the other thing with Carolina, here's the other thing. If Carolina beats Atlanta and Saints lose to Tampa, the Saints finish last in the NFC South, but Carolina gets the better draft pick because of strength of schedule. So Carolina potentially could get somebody that maybe the Saints covet, and they're going to continue improving. So
it doesn't make sense that that's how the tiebreakers for standings are not done the same way as the.
I agree, but I mean it is what it is. So for my last resolution, I'll just say don't be afraid to I guess rebuild or like reset maybe.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how to word that. Like I want to say just don't be afraid.
Yeah, to reset, rebuild. I think both of those work.
Don't be afraid to suck, basically. Like it's and look and you can like look at like, again. I'll use Carolina as an example. Like they're a bad team, but they're competitive. Like they're competing most weeks, right? Like they may not they're not win every game, but they at least are showing signs of competitiveness. So which I think you can do. And just try to. And actually, that might be my next. My actually, I'm going to change my last resolution. My last resolution is going to be do better at self scouting. Do a better job of self scouting. Because that's kind of how the Saints got into this whole mess. They really looked at their roster in coming into last season and said, all we need is Derek Carr, and we can. And it's like, no, like
that was not the missing piece.
That was not the missing piece. And understanding that like Derek Carr needs to be elevated. Like Derek Carr is not a quarterback that's going to elevate the team. He needs to be elevated. Dennis Allen as
pieces around him.
Dennis Allen as a coach is not going to elevate your team. Right? So understanding that and just doing a better job of self-scouting would probably be my last. I'll make that my last resolution for the Saints. What's your final resolution here?
All right, I'm gonna go league wide here because there's one thing that I think the NFL should improve.
Okay.
And that's fix the referee situation because they suck. Paul, I gotta tell you that I'm tired of this. The referee situation, you know what I think about it.
Well, it sucks.
Yep, Frank, it does. It does. Now, so let me ask you this. How would you fix it? Like
I think making them full-time employees would be a start.
Yep.
Getting a little bit younger probably would help. So like, I mean, along with that, like making them full-time employees would be better training programs. But I also think they've got the rapid review system, which I think has been useful in a lot of situations, but it's not used extensively enough. I think there's a little bit, you could kind of expand that a little more.
Yeah.
So I think there's ways to improve it with just that. So you have replay available quickly to kind of fix things because they're able to like get it done like that. Like you're not going to the sideline every time. So I think just being able to fix that would be a big one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the refs That's definitely. I would actually. I would maybe add in better job of maybe flexing out of games.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why we should be subject to Bears at Seahawks. No offense to either team, but like,
I think that violates the Geneva Convention.
yeah, and also like maybe don't lock in. Although the Cowboys Bengals game that ended up being a pretty
Yeah.
entertaining game with the whole Simpsons thing, but like
Mm.
I don't know, like I feel like that you could do, and we kind of also talked about this. I think with the grievances episode, like the whole international game thing. Like I get it,
Yeah.
you want to, but like you got to do a better job of distributing the buys. You mentioned adding an extra week to the schedule potentially.
Hmm.
I actually heard that mentioned on another show. I can't remember where, but made me think of you. But yeah, all in all, like with the NFL, just I know you're printing money, and a lot of these things are probably not going to be at the forefront because you're
Hmm.
like, you're pretty set in what you're doing, but I don't know. It just don't be afraid to change. I guess don't be afraid to
Yeah.
get smart people in a room and talk it out.
Improve.
So
You can improve things. Things can be improved.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. All right, let's move on to the final week of the regular season. I can't believe we're here, week 18. Um, we got 2 games on Saturday, and the rest of the games are on Sunday. So obviously, nobody on a bye. So for Saturday, we kick off with Browns at Ravens. The Ravens are laying 17.5 points. Uh, and this is presented by Paul Kruger, Saints legend Paul Kruger. Do you remember Paul Kruger at all? Do you remember
I
this?
do
Do you
not.
know this name?
I know. I know. Keuger.
Okay,
Keuger.
yeah, yes. No, no relation. No, Paul Kruger, when he played with the Ravens, had uh, this one season where he like lit this league on fire. I think he had double digit sacks, and he ended up coming to the Saints. This is another one of those instances where like kind of like similar with Julius Jones. The Saints signed him, and I was very excited, and then he ended up doing pretty much
Diddley
nothing for the
squat.
diddly squad for the Saints. But yeah, anyway, Paul Kruger is presenting Browns at Ravens. Ravens are laying 17.5 points. So I need a Ravens win here for my preseason prediction poll.
Mm-hmm.
As far as playoffs go, we talked about this a minute ago. If Baltimore wins, they are the AFC North champions. They are the 3 seed. A Cleveland loss will clinch the number 1 pick for them, but they would also need New England and Tennessee to win in order for that to happen. You need a Browns win. Why do you need a Browns win? Oh,
That's
for
for the over unders.
right, for the over unders, right? So yeah, so basically this game is going to decide the over unders for us, pretty much. If the
Yep.
Ravens win, I win. If they don't, you win. So
Yeah, and I don't trust Mr. Dance Revolution DTR. I
I'm
guess
I'm
Dance
guessing
Trance Revolution.
I'm guessing DTR is starting this week. I haven't
I
heard.
assume so.
And now if they mess around and put Jameis in, then it might get interesting. Uh, Next game on Saturday, the nightcap. Bengals at Steelers. Steelers are getting 2.5 points. This one's presented by BW Webb, Cowboys legend. BW Webb
Cowboys and Saints legend.
and say yeah. So this is a 4-way immaculate grid match here.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about this Cincinnati. So if the Ravens win, if the Ravens beat the Browns, then this game becomes not meaningless for the Steelers because if they lose and the Chargers win on Sunday, that would knock the Steelers back down to the 6th seed. The Bengals need to win this to stay alive. They need to beat Pittsburgh and hope for some help on Sunday from the Chiefs and from the Jets in order to actually remind me when we get there. I'll tell you what the Bengal playoff parlay pays out.
Okay.
uh, So if you bet Bengals, Jets, and Chiefs money lines, I want to say it's like 13-1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you know what the shakiest part of that leg is the Chiefs, because Chiefs
They're
aren't playing
playing
anybody.
right.
They're so anyway, but I kind of hope the Bengals get in the playoffs. I think that would make the AFC side a little bit more interesting, but we'll see. We're both laying the on the Browns Ravens games, we're both laying the 17.5, right?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
on this one, we're both laying 2.5 with the Bengals. So moving on to the early slate on Sunday, we'll start with my team here, the Saints at the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are laying 13.5. This one's presented by Martin Gramatica. And now, is he the one that injured himself celebrating a kick?
That would be Bill Grammatica.
That was Bill. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. Okay. So we talked about this. If Tampa wins, they clinch the NFC South and they clinch at least the 4 seed. This winning this game in combination with a Rams loss would clinch the 3 seed for Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
For my predictions, I do need a Bucks loss, as I put in the notes, basically a miracle. The last time these two teams played, this was Rattler's first start back in whatever week that was, or it was his first home start for sure. And this is the one where Olave got concussed on like the first play of the game, and Rattler had this great second quarter, brought the Saints all the way back, and then the Bucks ended up blowing them out in the second half. So I don't expect much from this game. Like I said, hopefully we at least see some signs of life from somebody on the Saints. But
yes,
we'll see. Moving on, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, so we got Kai Forbath presents Commanders and Cowboys. Washington wins. If wins, that'll be the 6th seed. If they lose and Green Bay wins, they'll be the 7th seed. Cowboys.
So Packers fans are rooting for the Cowboys in this one.
Yes. So you and I are both laying the points here. I don't see. I mean, I think Dallas will probably still play hard, so I think this will be a fairly competitive game at least. But just
right,
the number of injuries the Cowboys have had, I think they're without CeeDee Lamb now too. That's another thing we didn't mention for the Eagles game is Brandon Cooks is now their number one receiver, so that's a big the kind of the engine of their offense at this point now is gone. So we'll both lay the points with the commies. We'll spread some propaganda.
Yeah, why not? All right, moving on to the other NFC South matchup of the week. Panthers at Falcons. Falcons are laying 7.5. This one's brought to you by Brett Maxey. Brett Maxey was a safety for the Saints also back in the day. I remember when I first started collecting trading cards, like sports trading cards, had several Saints trading cards. One of them was Mr. Brett Maxey. So, all right, so Atlanta has to win this game and hope that the Saints beat Tampa to win the NFC South. Atlanta can get no higher than the 4 seed. So if the only way they can get in the playoffs is they have to win the NFC South. I'm going to take the Panthers plus 7.5 here. I do need a Panthers win in order to predict their season record right. You are laying the 7.5.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Falcons to cover here.
Nice little Bryce Young versus Michael Penix matchup here. So we'll see.
Yeah, we're going to see a young Penix game.
Yeah, there you go. This game is in Atlanta, so take that for what it's worth. Moving on here, the team that's rooting for the Cowboys, the Packers, are going to host the Bears and lay 9.5. This game presented by current Saints legend Lucas Patrick, who is not playing any longer because he's out for the rest of the year with the injury. But Green Bay. So this is, like I said, this really sucks for Green Bay. Like they lost that game to Minnesota, and it dropped them all the way back to the 7th seed. So they need to win, and they need the Cowboys to beat the Commanders to get to the 6th seed. Otherwise, they're going to be locked into the 7th seed. But as I mentioned earlier, I don't think the 7th seed is a bad thing for the Packers.
No, they can go on the road to Philadelphia.
let me ask you this: if you're the Eagles, who would you rather play, the Packers or the Commanders?
I think
I think I'd rather play the Commanders.
I think so because that's a familiar foe, and they were winning
Yeah,
that game until Kenny Pickett came in.
yeah.
The Eagles were, and so like I think I'd rather take my chances with Washington.
And this Packers team is very different from the team that Philly beat week 1.
Yeah, and that field's going to be a lot different too because one of the
Right.
issues with that game was that defensive players were sliding everywhere.
Yep.
Probably should mention. I think it looks like Jair Alexander's out for the season. It's going to have
Oh
to
yeah,
have
that's
knee
true.
surgery, so that's kind of a big blow. But
That's not ideal. Yeah,
no, it's not.
but
It's not going to be good for business.
not going to be good for anybody. We're laying the 9.5 here with
That is correct.
and this would if the Bears lose this game, this would be 11 in a row to end the season. Man,
That would be
hopefully
impressive, honestly.
better days ahead for the Bears. Hopefully,
The Bears.
Speaking of better days ahead, Jaguars at Colts. Colts are laying 5.5. This one presented by Carl Davis. Did you know that Carl Davis is a Cowboys legend?
The name sounds familiar.
He's a defensive tackle. The reason I know him is he's a defensive tackle from the University of Iowa. That
Not
I
Carlton.
knew.
I was thinking of Carlton Davis for
No,
some
no,
reason.
no,
When you said that
not
name,
not the cornerback. This is a defensive lineman, defensive tackle from the University of Iowa here. Colts are laying 5.5. I need the Colts to lose for my prediction, so I'm going to take the 5.5 with Jacksonville.
I'm also taking the points with the Jags.
So let's go, Mac Jones. Return of the Mac. See what he can do.
It would also be Return of the Flag.
Return of the Flag. Yes, I think Richardson. Did you see
Scheduled
this
to play?
today? Well, apparently last week he couldn't walk at home. He had to crawl around at home. Did you hear about this? Yeah,
I did not hear about this.
Apparently he has a disc problem in his back that it was so painful he couldn't walk. He had to like crawl. So I wouldn't play him.
That sounds less than ideal. I think I would sit
Right.
I think I'd sit the guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't play him. If I can find the tweet, I'll retweet it from our account. But yeah, that doesn't sound ideal. Moving on here. Bills at Patriots. Patriots are getting 2.5 points. This game presented by Matt Castle. Was their last game presented by Matt? No, it was Doug Flutie. Doug Flutie presented the last one. So nothing here for the Bills, really. They're locked into the to the 2 seed. Patriots loss clinches the number 1 pick for them. I'm going to lay the 2.5 with the Bills. It looks like Josh Allen's going to play a little bit, but not. They're probably going to treat it like a preseason game, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Mitchell Trubisky's going to be coming on in relief here.
I'm gonna take the points here.
You're going to try. So let me ask you this: if you're the Patriots, would you play the Drake in this game?
I think so. Like, might as well get him some reps.
There was talk about maybe just having Brissett and Joe Milton, Joe Milton's their third string that they drafted this year also along with the Drake.
Let me put a disclaimer on this. If Brissett and Milton are the ones that Milton Bradley are the ones out there, I will be switching this pick to the Patriots.
Fair enough.
I mean, switching this pick to the Bills.
To the Bills, yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, moving on here. Giants at Eagles. This one presented by Jose Cortez, Cowboy legend.
Immaculate Grid legend.
NFC East
legend.
Immaculate Grid legend. He played for all 4 NFC East teams. So Philadelphia, we talked about this. They're locked in as the 2 seed. For the Giants to get back to the number 1 pick, they would have to lose this game and hope for a Cleveland, New England, and Tennessee wins. So not very likely. Let's look up that parlay.
Not bloody likely.
What do you think that parlay would pay out? Cleveland, New England, and Tennessee money lines. Got to be like 20-1 at least.
Oh, that's got to be incredible. Yeah, especially the Cleveland one by itself is going to be huge.
Right.
The New England one's a little shorter.
Yeah.
Tennessee is.
I don't know. I don't know who. I don't know who. What the heck? I don't know who is going to be playing quarterback for the Eagles because I know Pickett got hurt,
Yeah,
and they
he took
brought
one. He
in.
took he took one hit from Micah Parsons and was done. What a
Well, that'll
wimp!
do it. That'll do it. Tanner McKee came in, threw a
Yep.
touchdown pass, and AJ Brown threw it away. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, I did see that. I
AJ
did
Brown
see
had to
that.
go.
I think that was the last thing I saw before we were pulling over to a gas station. For
So you could take care of business, as it were.
yeah, I had with the black and white cookie situation.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. New England. Hang on. Just give me 1 second here.
Are
New
you pulling up
England.
this parlay?
Yeah. Let's see. What we say? New England.
Don't tell me. You're gambling again, aren't you?
Yep, Newman. I am. Let's see. You got to let it ride. Let's see. Cleveland. Cleveland's money line parlay by himself is plus 820 on.
Yep. I was gonna guess
Okay.
800.
Take a guess for a New England, Tennessee, Cleveland money line. What's the guess? This is on Rebet, by the way.
Okay. I'm gonna go.
Hey, by the way, real quick before you guess, for what it's
Uh-huh.
worth, the Tennessee money line is minus 114.
Yeah, because they're minus
Yeah,
4.5
right,
against the Texans.
right. So
Okay, so I'll say 1,400.
36-30.
Oh man, I was way low on that.
That's some sweet
Wow.
action,
Yeah, that is some sweet action.
man. Like that, you got to be a true degenerate to put some money on that one.
So how much did you put down?
Yeah, 50 cents. All right, so moving on. So so I'm
did the
laying the
Giants,
3.5.
Eagles. I'm
Yeah, I'm
taking the
laying the three and
Giants
a
plus the
half. You're
points.
taking the Giants. Yeah. All right, Texans and Titans. So the Titans actually are in reasonably good position here. If they lose, and the Patriots win, which again, if the Bills are calling off the dogs, Patriots maybe win that game.
Right.
But Titans are getting laying 4.5 because the Texans are calling off the dogs here. I'm taking the points still.
Yep.
I don't. Is it official? Is Stroud not playing at all? Or are they just going to go
I
with
haven't
Davis
seen
Mills?
anything. I haven't seen an announcement yet.
Because the
The
Texans are
line would
locked in.
indicate that it would. That
Right, the
that
Texans
he is
are
not playing.
the Texans are locked into the 4 seed. They will be hosting either the Steelers or the Chargers. Presumably that first game on Saturday of Wild Card Weekend. But so we will see. Moving on here, late slate. All right, so now we're getting into the important games in terms of the final playoff spot here. Chiefs at Broncos. Broncos are laying 8.5. Presented by Texans Titans presented by Lonnie Johnson Jr., former Saint legend. Chiefs Broncos. Broncos laying 8.5. Presented by Cowboy legend Kyle Orton. So again, Denver just has to win, and they're the 7th seed. I know it's stupid, but I'm just going to take the 8.5 with the Chiefs because Andy Reid's not taking the week off, as far as I know.
Have you seen? Yeah. Have you seen Carson Wentz play?
Yeah, he might make me wince.
Yeah,
he might make me wince.
exactly.
Who's their emergency quarterback? Is it Tyler Thigpen? I think it was Tyler Thigpen. I think for a while.
That sounds right.
But yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll see him. But you're laying the 8.5 with the Broncos.
Yep.
Yeah. Now we should point out if the Broncos do lose this game, they could still get in, but they would need Miami and Cincinnati to both lose also. So that's why I say the Broncos are kind of in the driver's seat. I know people hate the control their own destiny thing. So that's why I use the phrase of in the driver's seat. I feel like that's a little more like
a little
safe.
More appropriate.
I don't know.
Yeah,
sure. All right, moving on. Dolphins at Jets. Jets are getting 2.5. This game brought to you by someone we mentioned earlier, Sean Ryan. He was part of that trade that Dallas made with Buffalo, or he was a
picked.
draft pick.
Draft pick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that Dallas got from the Buffalo trade for J.P. Lossman. Uh, Dolphins and Jets. Dolphins have to win, and Miami has to lose. That would make Miami the 7th seed. I'm going to lay the points here with the Dolphins. I need a Dolphins win for my predictions. You are also laying the points, it looks like,
that's
with the
correct.
Dolphins. Don't know if Tua is playing. I think I read today Mike McDaniel said that he is preparing Snoop Huntley to start. So
All righty.
who knows? So there we go. This could be potentially Aaron Rodgers' last hurrah,
Yep.
as it were. As we also saw that the Jets may be moving on from Devontae Adams as well this offseason.
Yep.
So anybody in the market for a good receiver.
Or a good house with a Taco Bell inside it.
Yeah, there you go. That too. All right, moving on to a game that we thought would be for the NFC West title, but again, as we mentioned earlier, with the strength of victory tiebreaker, the Rams have already clinched this. Seahawks at Rams. Rams are getting a half a point. This is presented by Will Herring, another Saints legend. So the Rams right now are in the 3 seed driver's seat, but if they lose and Tampa Bay beats the Saints, then the Rams would fall down to the 4 seed. Tampa Bay would become the 3 seed. We're both laying the half a point with the Seahawks, basically a pick'em game.
Yeah, just based on the fact that the Rams aren't playing anybody, I'll just take the Seahawks.
Yeah, it looks like the Rams are going to take the foot off the gas here, which I don't know. I mean, again, if I'm the Rams, although I will say, if you're the Rams, you beat the Vikings already this season, and you played the Lions pretty tough. So they're probably not as. I don't think the Bucs are scared of either team either, but like, I don't know, the Rams maybe not as concerned. I would say as if they fall back to 4.
I will say the market right now has this game at Seahawks -6.5. So that's
yeah. So that this has definitely shifted since this came out. Let me. Is it 0.5? Is it half a point on ESPN Pick'em? Because I thought
it is half a point.
It is okay.
Yes.
I was like, I didn't get this wrong, did I?
No, you're correct. So next game we've got Jared Cook presents Chargers versus the Raiders. Playoff implications: the Chargers win and the Pittsburgh loss would make the Chargers the 5 seed. I'm good.
Yep.
I think we're both laying the 5.5 with the Chargers. Paul, you need a Chargers.
I need a Chargers win for their season prediction. Jared Cook, by the way, Saints. I won't call him a legend. He's part of the reason the Saints lost the last game of Drew Brees' career. He had a very costly fumble in that playoff game against the Buccaneers.
Jared Cook also an anti-Cowboys legend here too.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that catch he made with the Packers. Yeah. All right, this last game, absolutely no playoff implications here. 49ers at Cardinals. Cardinals are getting a half a point. Cowboy legend Alfred Morris presents this one. I need a Cardinals loss, so I'm going to lay the half a point with the 49ers. Do you have a market value on this game?
Yeah, I can check that. So now it's currently Arizona -4.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Purdy's not starting. It's going to be Josh Dobbs, which this is a revenge game, right? Josh Dobbs.
That's correct.
Former Cardinal. Well, I mean, any team Josh Dobbs plays is probably a revenge game because he's played for damn near all of them.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna flip here to Arizona. I'll take Cardinals.
I might flip it as well. Yeah, what the hell? I'll flip it as well. I'll flip it to Arizona plus the half a point. Also, just to point out for Arizona, if they win this game, that would finish the season 8-9. What are they at right now? They're at.
I don't have the standings. Oh, hold on.
Arizona
would finish if they win. They would be 8-9.
Actually, also, I should I guess we should point out this could be if Arizona loses, they finish last in the West. I think because
Yeah,
that San Francisco win, they would both be 7-10. So
that's
you know,
correct.
if that matters, I don't know. But, all right, and last but not least, game 272, Sunday night. Vikings Lions. Lions laying 2.5. It's presented by Eric Frampton. Brandon, do you know who Eric Frampton is?
Yeah, he had that song "Baby, Baby, I Love Your Way."
No, not Peter Frampton.
Oh.
Not Eric and not Eric Clapton either.
Is he related
Eric
to
Frampton?
them?
No. Eric Frampton played. He was a defensive back. I believe he went to Washington State. Played for obviously both the Vikings and the Lions, but he also played for the Cowboys and the Saints. So those was the 4 teams that he played for in his NFL career. I think he lasted about 5 or 6 seasons. So I figured he was an appropriate choice here to present this game. Lions laying 2.5. All right, so very simple. Whoever wins this game is the 1 seed, the NFC North champ. Whoever loses this game is the 5 seed and travels to either Tampa, LA, or even Atlanta potentially if the Falcons. So
it would be kind of funny for the Lions. We've kind of thought of them as like the premier team in the NFC for most of the season.
Yep.
Like basically one of the best teams in the conference for most of the year. It would be funny if they go all this way and then end up not even winning their own division just because of like injuries and the fact that Minnesota's just hung with them all season.
So this also guarantees we will have a 14-win team that travels the first week of the playoffs.
Yeah, and everyone will be upset about it.
Well, I was gonna say everybody will be reasonable about it. I'm sure.
Oh,
I'm gonna go with the Vikings here. I think the Vikings have some momentum coming into this. And I don't know, man. There's just something about them. Now, obviously, the Lions, I feel, well, I'll ask you this question. Of these 2 teams, who needs to buy more?
I would think Detroit would need it more just because
Absolutely,
of the fact that they're so injured.
Yeah. I completely agree. Again, I think either of these 2 teams, I mentioned it a minute ago, my pick for the Final Four in the NFC are the 3 North teams, these 2, the Packers and Tampa Bay. We'll see if that comes to fruition. I've said it, so it probably won't now, but
I wouldn't mind if you were right.
Yeah, I know you would. All right, so that does it for our Week 18 preview.
Did we say who we're taking?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm taking the Vikings. I'm going.
Oh yeah,
plus 2.5.
I will lay the points with Detroit.
Actually, I'm glad you stopped me here. So we mentioned our picks against each other. I'm 2 games ahead of you right now. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So real quick, we are opposed on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. I count.
Okay.
We are opposed. So you would have to go 4-1 in those 5 games to beat me, right? Because if I'm 2 ahead of you,
I can feel it coming, Paul. It's going to happen.
Oh no, it's definitely going to happen. Now that I've said it, but I'm just we got to have some drama for somebody's following along. They're plotting it on their charts there.
Their beautiful mind, sort of.
All right, they got the red string out and they're doing all that. All right, so let's move on to our final regular season edition of George is Getting Upset.
This is not good. Worlds are colliding. George is getting upset.
That episode was on earlier on the TV, the pool guy episode. All right, Brandon, I'll let you choose first. Who are you going with your upset?
Okay. I am going to go. All right. I'm gonna take the Jaguars. Playing against the
Over
Colts.
the Colts? Okay.
Yep. So Joe Flacco, you're done. It's over. The Mac is back.
It's over
over.
for Flacco.
Yep. And so I'll take the Jags. Who you got, Paul?
I'm gonna take a team that another expansion team from 1996 or 1995, whatever year it was. The Panthers. I'm gonna say Panthers over Falcons.
We're gonna take a couple of Steve Berline teams over here.
We're going with the Steve Berline special here. As we're. Why is my? Sorry, my.
Got some caps lock problems.
Yeah, I got problems, Jerry.
All right, now we can move on to our Jerry. It's a lock.
Oh, Jerry, it's a lock. Kramer, you've had this thing under control for almost 3 years now.
All right, Paul.
All right. You want me to go first? Because
Yeah,
I'm having some. I may need you to type it for me because I'm having some technical issues on my end here.
Okay.
Let me just give me 1 second here. Let me pull up.
Okay.
I feel like
I know you want to lock the Saints. I know you got a feeling.
Yeah, I'm gonna lock them all right. I'm gonna lock them away. I think I'm just gonna look. I'm not gonna get cute with this. I'm just gonna go with the Ravens.
Okay.
Ravens over the Browns.
You never know if Jameis plays. If it's a Jameis game.
Listen. If it's close in like the third quarter and DTR gets hurt and here comes Jameis strolling out, I'm gonna start sweating.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I considered this, and the only reason I didn't take it is because what if Jameis plays?
Right.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna take here?
So I'm gonna take the team on the 11 game, or on the 10 game losing streak to move it to 11. I'm gonna take the Packers over the Bears.
I mean, that's a good pick. I mean, like I said, the Packers do have to play for something. I mean, they
can't just roll over.
I mean, if they lose, yeah. So if the Packers lose, that clinches the 6th seed for Washington.
Correct.
But if they win and Washington loses to your Cowboys, then that would get them the 6th seed. So if my equipment here would cooperate, I wanted to kind of go through the potential matchups real quick, but I don't know if my equipment's going to cooperate here. So from a AFC perspective, I mean, the first round matchups are looking like it could be Chargers or Steelers at Texans, Chargers or Steelers at Baltimore, and then it'll either be Denver, Cincinnati, Miami at Buffalo. So there's your potential AFC matchups. I guess technically you could also have Chargers at Steelers.
Uh-huh.
So if the Ravens lose, the Steelers win, because the Chargers can't pass up the Ravens because the Ravens beat the Chargers.
So they would move to so Pittsburgh would move up to 3 in that situation.
And the Chargers would stay at 6. So that would that's how you get Chargers Steelers. You would get 2 rematches there. Ravens Texans is a rematch. Chargers Steelers is a rematch. And then in the NFC, your potential matchups are Philly's either going to host Green Bay or Washington. That's pretty much it.
Well, the Falcons can still get in through a miracle, right?
No, they can't get the 7th seed.
That's right. They'd have to.
They can't get the 7th seed.
Right.
They have to win the division. If they had beaten Washington, then they could have gotten the 7th seed, but that didn't happen. So then the 3 seed will either be Tampa or the Rams. So if it's the Rams, they would host either the Packers or the Commanders. Same with the Bucks. They would host either the Packers or the Commanders. And the 4 seed, whoever the 4 seed is going to host either the Lions or the Vikings. Whoever loses the Sunday night game. So, again, I'm sticking with my guns. I feel like the Final Four in the NFC is going to be the 3 teams of the North and Tampa Bay. That's my prediction. Sure to be wrong for this week. So, when we speak to you next week, we will know our playoff matchups. We'll know the semifinals in the college playoff. We'll know the wild card matchups in the NFL. Brandon, you got anything else you want to tell the fine folks before we sign off?
Nope, I think that's it for me.
All right. Well, we'll talk to everybody next week. Everybody stay safe. Happy New Year and happy football.
Happy football.